Beloved one, close your eyes and know that in this very moment, you are standing at the gates of abundance. Spirit is here, and all that is yours by divine right is flowing toward you. Take a deep breath, inhale peace, and exhale every shadow of fear, every memory of lack, every anxious thought. It is melting away. Inhale again, filling your lungs completely with the breath of spirit. Hold it gently, and exhale slowly, as if releasing centuries of burdens. Once more, beloved, breathe in deeply, filling your whole being with light, and breathe out, knowing you are free. Now let your body become still, like a calm lake. From the crown of your head to the soles of your feet, peace is descending. Imagine a warm golden light above you, the very essence of divine supply, glowing brighter than the sun yet soft as silk. This golden light is the creative energy of the universe, the same light that formed galaxies and stars, the same light that carved mountains and poured oceans. It is now flowing into you. Visualize it entering the crown of your head, gliding gently over your forehead, your eyes, cheeks, and jaw, softening every muscle, your neck, shoulders, and arms, releasing every burden you've carried. It flows down your spine, easing tension from every vertebra, into your lower back and hips, filling every part of you with golden warmth. Let this divine light flow through your chest, flooding your heart with love, expanding your breath with peace. It moves into your stomach, clearing all fear of lack, dissolving every thought that said, "I am not enough." The light continues down into your legs, your knees, your ankles, your feet, until it reaches the tips of your toes. Now your entire body is glowing. Every cell, every atom is singing with abundance, vibrating with divine supply. See this golden light dissolving every limiting belief you've held, every fear of money, every shame about wealth, every thought of "I cannot." See them vanish like smoke in sunlight. You are being renewed, recreated, reborn in spirit. Now, beloved, see yourself standing in a garden of gold. The ground beneath your feet shimmers. The air is rich with light. This is your inheritance, your divine storehouse. You are safe here. You are loved here. And here lack cannot exist. Say softly in your heart, I am one with infinite supply. I am rich in divine substance. Money knows my name and comes to me now. Let these words echo through the universe. Imagine them as beams of golden light, carrying your spiritual signature across the unseen. Money, opportunity, love, and health all recognize your name. They turn toward you now. Picture yourself receiving effortlessly. See yourself living in the home of your dreams. Walk through its doors. Feel the warmth of its rooms. See your family and loved ones laughing, thriving, and surrounded by blessings. See your bank account filled beyond measure. Not because you chase money, but because it knows you, trusts you, and seeks you out. Visualize yourself giving generously, blessing others without fear, because Spirit is your endless source. As you give, you receive tenfold. The river of wealth flows through you. Now affirm silently, everything I desire is already mine. The doors are open. Divine substance flows freely. I live in God's storehouse, where I cannot lack. Stay here for a while, beloved. Let this vision grow brighter. Feel gratitude fill your heart. Smile softly, knowing the law of spirit is exact. The unseen is becoming seen. Now see the golden light expanding beyond your body, filling your room, your home, your city, and finally, the entire universe. You are a beacon of abundance, and your vibration calls every good thing to you. Whisper within yourself, I am wealthy in health. I am wealthy in love. I am wealthy in wisdom. I am wealthy in joy. I am wealthy in substance. Repeat this softly 3 times. Breathing deeply between each declaration. Rest now in silence. Feel the deep calm of knowing it is already done. Beloved, I say to you, walk as one who already has what they asked for. See every dollar you spend returning multiplied. See every door opening before you. Walk in certainty, smile in faith, speak boldly. Now breathe deeply once again in and out. With each breath, feel yourself returning to the present moment, carrying this wealth consciousness with you. You are not the same as when you began. You are glowing. You are radiant. You are magnetic. Count silently from 5 to 1. With each count, feel more awake, yet deeply peaceful. At 1, open your eyes and know that abundance is your birthright, and the universe has already recognized your name.
There is a hidden law of life, a golden thread woven through the fabric of existence, that answers to the voice of faith. When words are spoken with certainty, they go forth clothed in power, and what they declare must return fulfilled. The universe is responsive, alive, and infinitely abundant, and it waits only for the word of command from the heart that knows its authority. Money is not a stranger, nor is it difficult to attract. It is a divine idea, circulating freely, seeking its rightful channel. Those who learn to align their thoughts and words with this truth find that prosperity flows like a river, unceasing, unstoppable, and entirely natural. A psalm is more than poetry. It is a spiritual decree, a timeless affirmation of divine law. And when spoken with conviction, it opens doors that seemed forever shut. To speak a psalm for 7 days with unwavering trust is to set in motion an unseen force that breaks limitation, dissolves lack, and calls forth supply from unexpected directions. 7 is the number of completion, of cycles fulfilled, of the perfect work of spirit. To speak for 7 days is to press the truth into the subconscious, impressing the law with the certainty of prosperity, until lack becomes unthinkable and abundance the only reality. When money seems far away, the error lies not in the outer world, but in the silent inner dialogue. Doubt, fear, and complaint weave shadows that block the radiant flow. Yet a psalm, spoken faithfully, clears the atmosphere of thought and floods it with divine certainty. It is like opening windows to let in sunlight, the gloom vanishes, and everything hidden comes alive with brightness. As words of truth are repeated, the mind grows still, the heart opens, and a new expectancy takes root. Prosperity begins to feel near, inevitable, even ordinary. And soon, money responds. It flows in with ease, in ways too marvelous to predict. For divine supply is never limited to the channels the mind imagines. One need not struggle, strain, or chase. The psalm, spoken in faith, does the work. It plants the seed in the soil of spirit, and spirit multiplies the seed beyond measure. The act of speaking for 7 days is a symbol of persistence, a refusal to accept appearances of lack. It is faith in action, trust that the invisible is more real than the visible, and that money, like air, is abundant, circulating, and ready to fill every need. Those who dare to try will find that the word is power, the psalm is the key, and 7 days of faith can overturn years of limitation. For money is not a problem, it is an idea of supply, ever present and waiting to be claimed. And as the psalm is spoken, again and again, the truth becomes flesh, and prosperity flows as naturally as breath itself. Words spoken in faith command the flow of money, for every syllable carries a vibration, and every vibration creates a result in the unseen. The tongue is a creative instrument, the bridge between thought and form, and when it speaks from the wellspring of faith, it becomes a mighty force that bends circumstances, opens doors, and summons abundance. Faith is the assurance that what is declared must come to pass, and when words are uttered with that assurance, they cannot fail. It is not the word alone that holds power, but the consciousness behind the word. The unwavering certainty that backs it like a divine current. When the two are united, word and faith, prosperity responds as surely as an echo answers a call. Money is not drawn by effort alone, nor by anxiety, calculation, or strain. It responds to the vibration of belief, to the words spoken with trust that supply is infinite and ever available. Many speak words of lack unconsciously, repeating phrases of fear and limitation, and so their life mirrors those declarations. They say, "I never have enough," and the universe obediently reflects it back. But when a new decree is spoken, a psalm of abundance, held firm in faith and never cancelled by doubt, the flow of money shifts, as though a hidden gate has swung open. The universe is listening, not with ears but with law. Law does not reason, it does not question, it only executes. When you speak with faith, you impress the law with certainty. And what is impressed must be expressed. A psalm recited for 7 days is not a superstition, but a spiritual exercise in persistence. A hammer of truth striking again and again until the walls of limitation crumble. Each repetition engraves the word deeper into consciousness, until faith grows strong and unshakable, and the word goes forth like an arrow, piercing appearances of lack and commanding the arrival of money in perfect ways. Consider the nature of faith. It is not mere hope, nor wishful thinking, but the deep knowing that the invisible supply is already present. To speak words in faith is to declare what is already true in spirit, calling it forth into the visible. You do not beg or plead for money, for begging implies separation and distance. You affirm its presence. You call it by name, you speak as one who knows, and so the word carries authority. Just as a king decrees and it is done. The soul that speaks in faith decrees prosperity, and the law of abundance obeys without hesitation. When words of faith are spoken, the subconscious mind becomes the soil in which the seed is planted. The subconscious does not argue, it accepts. It receives the word, waters it with emotion, and brings it forth into experience. To say, money flows to me easily and in perfect ways, with faith is to plant the seed of financial freedom. To repeat it daily, without contradicting it with fear or complaint, is to nurture the seed until it grows into a harvest. The outer world cannot resist the inner command for long, it must align. For consciousness precedes form, and speech is the tool of consciousness. Those who doubt may look only at appearances and say, "But the money is not here." Yet appearances are but shadows of past words and beliefs. To focus on them is to chain yourself to yesterday's decrees. Faith speaks of what is true beyond appearances, and words spoken in that faith rewrite the script. Soon, the outer must bend, because the inner has been renewed. The law is impartial. It gives to each according to their spoken word, backed by belief. Speak limitation with conviction, and limitation comes. Speak abundance with conviction, and abundance flows. Money is not a cold material object but a symbol of circulation, energy in motion. It seeks channels, it seeks expression, and it answers to the one who calls it with authority. Words of faith are the magnet, drawing money not through toil alone, but through synchronicity, ideas, opportunities, and channels unforeseen. Many labor heavily yet speak words of fear, and so their harvest is small. Others speak words of faith and find that opportunities arrive effortlessly. Doors swing wide and money appears from directions never imagined. This is not chance but law. The spoken word, charged with faith, creates currents in the unseen that draw substance into form. Imagine the spoken word as a key turning in a lock. The lock is not outside you, but within. The barrier of unbelief, the door of doubt. When you speak with faith, the key turns smoothly, the lock opens, and the flow of money, already present in spirit, pours forth into visibility. If you speak without faith, the key does not turn, and the door remains closed. No matter how often you knock, it is the faith behind the word that commands, the faith that says, "It is already done. It is already mine." To cultivate this, the repetition of a psalm is a sacred act. Each time you speak it, you train the mind to accept abundance as natural, to release the old language of lack, to breathe in the truth of supply. Faith grows with use, like a muscle exercised daily. At first, the words may feel like mere phrases, but as you persist, they sink deeper, they take root, and soon they feel like truth itself. And when the subconscious accepts them as truth, the outer must align, for the law cannot be broken. Thus, words spoken in faith are not idle sounds. They are commands issued to the universe, decrees that money must obey. They are the proclamation of abundance, the declaration of dominion over fear, the song of prosperity sung into existence. Speak them once with doubt, and they are weak. Speak them again and again with faith, and they gather strength until nothing can resist their fulfillment. Money is not persuaded by worry, nor by desperation, but by the word of authority, the word that knows its power, the word that flows from faith. A psalm is a decree of divine abundance, spoken from the heart of spirit into the fabric of life, a declaration that transcends ordinary speech and touches the eternal law that governs supply. It is not simply a verse to be read or a ritual to be performed. It is a proclamation of truth that overrides appearances of lack and announces the presence of infinite riches. To recite a psalm is to align the self with a vibration of power older than time, a rhythm that moves through the unseen and shapes the seen. Each word is charged with the essence of divine law, and when spoken with faith, it commands matter, circumstances, and opportunity to obey. The power of a psalm rests not in its poetry alone, but in its vibration, the resonance it awakens within the soul. When the words are spoken, they stir the subconscious, awaken dormant faith, and attune the mind to the higher law of supply. They lift thought from limitation into certainty, from fear into knowing, from complaint into gratitude. A psalm carries with it the weight of authority, for it is not a plea to a distant source, but a reminder of what is already true, that abundance is ever present, limitless, and waiting to be recognized. When you speak a psalm, you are not asking for wealth to be created, you are commanding wealth to manifest from the infinite storehouse already prepared. A decree is not a suggestion, nor is it a wish. It is a word of authority, spoken with the assurance that it cannot fail. The psalm acts as this decree, a verbal scepter in the hands of one who knows their dominion. It is the language of the king declaring sovereignty, the language of spirit affirming its birthright. To decree divine abundance is to stand firm in truth, refusing to acknowledge lack as reality, refusing to allow fear to dictate, and declaring boldly that money, supply, and opportunity are flowing now. This decree does not linger in the air as empty sound. It sets in motion the law of circulation, which always answers to the spoken word. Every psalm carries within it divine ideas, ideas of plenty, of guidance, of protection, of overflowing good. When you speak these words, they do not remain external, they take root within consciousness, and consciousness is the soil in which manifestation grows. You impress the subconscious with the truth that abundance is natural, that supply is near, that there is no scarcity in spirit. As the subconscious accepts this truth, it shapes the outer world accordingly, arranging circumstances, drawing people, opening channels, and releasing money into visible form. The psalm is the decree that stamps this law onto the inner mind, ensuring that the outer life cannot help but reflect it. The act of speaking a psalm is a sacred transaction. You give your words, and in return the law gives manifestation. You sow with your lips, and you reap with your life. The decree is the seed, the subconscious is the soil, and abundance is the inevitable harvest. Just as one who plants wheat cannot reap thorns, one who decrees abundance cannot reap lack. The harvest is determined by the seed, and the psalm ensures that only seeds of prosperity, confidence, and divine certainty are planted. To repeat the psalm is to water the seed daily, to keep it alive, to protect it from the weeds of doubt and fear. Money is one form of abundance, but the decree of a psalm reaches beyond money into all expressions of prosperity. It commands harmony in affairs, success in endeavors, opportunities that seem to appear as if by miracle. Yet money itself flows naturally when the decree is spoken. Because money is an obedient servant of consciousness, it has no will of its own, it follows the word. If the decree is one of shortage, money obeys and withdraws. If the decree is one of plenty, money obeys and flows. The psalm ensures that the decree is always aligned with plenty, never with lack. There are those who read psalms mechanically, reciting without faith, and for them the words seem empty. But when the psalm is spoken with conviction, it is alive, electric, unstoppable. The decree is not in the letters on the page, but in the spirit with which they are uttered. When spoken as truth, each phrase is a sword cutting through illusion, each sentence a key opening the vault of abundance. The psalm is both shield and weapon, guarding against fear and striking down limitation. It does not beg, it declares. It does not waver, it commands. In every age, seekers of prosperity have found refuge in the psalms, because they carry this hidden code of decree. They align the speaker with divine certainty and turn the tide of circumstance. They shift the atmosphere of thought, and when thought shifts, matter must follow. The psalm is a decree that cannot be reversed, because once spoken in faith, it enters the law, and the law fulfills. No obstruction can stand against it, no delay can cancel it, for the decree of abundance carries with it the authority of spirit itself. When you take a psalm upon your lips and speak it as a decree, you step into your role as co-creator with the divine. You no longer see yourself as a beggar at the gates of wealth, but as a rightful heir to infinite supply. You stand in the center of power, declaring that money, success, and prosperity must answer your call. The decree becomes a vibration that radiates outward, touching people, places, and opportunities, drawing them into alignment with your spoken word. It travels through the unseen, arranging the scene, until the visible life reflects the invisible truth you have declared. A psalm is more than comfort, more than inspiration. It is the decree of divine abundance spoken into the law of life, and the law has no choice but to obey. Each time you speak it, you reinforce your dominion, you establish your authority, and you write prosperity into the fabric of your experience. The decree echoes through consciousness, resounds through the universe, and returns as visible wealth, perfect timing, and overflowing good. It is the eternal reminder that abundance is not distant, not scarce, not withheld, but present, plentiful, and waiting for the decree that calls it forth. Money is a divine idea, not a struggle, for it was never meant to be pursued with fear, anxiety, or endless toil. It exists as a symbol of supply, a tool through which the abundance of spirit flows into visible form. To see money as a struggle is to misunderstand its nature, to mistake the shadow for the substance. Money is not the source, it is the channel. The true source is infinite, limitless, and eternal, and it flows through money as easily as through health, love, peace, or opportunity. When one realizes that money is an idea born in divine mind, it ceases to be something distant, difficult, or scarce, and becomes as natural as air, as inevitable as the rising of the sun. The struggle begins only when fear of lack takes hold. When one imagines money as separate from the divine, and therefore difficult to obtain. This false belief drives people to chase, compete, and exhaust themselves in pursuit of what was already theirs by divine right. They labor under the illusion that money is hard, that it belongs only to a few, that it must be taken by force or secured through constant worry. Yet all the while, the law of supply waits for recognition, ready to pour forth the moment resistance is dissolved. Money flows not through strain but through recognition, not through desperation but through alignment with the truth that supply is ever present. A divine idea cannot be limited, and money, as such an idea, is limitless in potential. Every coin, every note, every channel of wealth is but one expression of the infinite substance of spirit. The forms may change. One era brings gold, another paper, another digital currency, but the idea remains unchanged. It is abundance made visible, circulating, moving, serving as the symbol of divine provision. To cling to the form and forget the idea is to miss the essence. Those who know the truth can never fear the disappearance of one form, for they understand that the idea itself is eternal and will always produce new forms as needed. The struggle disappears when money is seen as circulation rather than possession. It is not something to hoard or fear losing, but something to allow, to let flow, to release and receive. Just as blood must circulate to give life, money must circulate to express abundance. Hoarding from fear blocks the current, just as clenching the fist blocks the hand from receiving. But when money is viewed as a divine idea, its flow becomes effortless, for ideas cannot be exhausted. The more freely they are expressed, the more they multiply. To give with joy is to prove the law, to let the current move without resistance, and in return, the flow increases. Struggle arises only in the belief of separation, the thought that one is cut off from the source, that money depends solely on personal effort or chance. But no one can ever be separated from the divine mind, for it is the very breath within. The idea of money originates there, and to align with it is to step into effortless provision. The one who knows money as a divine idea does not fear recession, inflation, or loss, for they understand that outer conditions cannot erase what exists eternally in the unseen. Conditions shift, but ideas remain, and divine ideas always find expression. To live in this truth is to view money not as a master, but as a servant. It was never intended to enslave or dominate, but to serve as a medium of exchange, a symbol of trust, a tool for the circulation of good. When one makes money a master, the struggle begins, for the servant is placed on the throne. But when money is restored to its rightful place as a divine idea, peace returns, and the struggle ends. It flows naturally to those who use it rightly, who honor its role as an instrument of circulation, who recognize it as one of many ways abundance manifests. Money as an idea is also creative, responding to thought, imagination, and faith. Just as an architect sees a building first in thought before it rises in stone, the one aligned with abundance sees prosperity first in consciousness before it appears in form. The decree spoken in faith becomes the blueprint, and money flows as one of the materials, summoned to bring the design into reality. To struggle is to forget the blueprint and attempt to build with random scraps. To know money as a divine idea is to trust that the supply of material always matches the design of faith. Every divine idea carries within it the power of multiplication. A seed is an idea of life, and within it lies the power to become a tree, bearing countless more seeds. Money, as an idea, works the same. It does not diminish by being used, it multiplies through circulation. One coin spent in faith may return as 10, one act of generosity may open doors to abundance unimagined. To believe money is scarce is to block this multiplication, to see only the single seed and forget the forest it contains. To believe money is a divine idea is to trust the forest is already within the seed, and to act accordingly with confidence. Struggle also arises from comparison, the false belief that abundance is limited and must be taken from another in order to be enjoyed. Yet money as a divine idea knows no such limitation. The supply is infinite, tailored perfectly to each soul's purpose, flowing in perfect measure to each who aligns with it. There is no competition in divine law, no scarcity of ideas, no shortage of supply. The ocean does not ration its waves, the sun does not limit its light, and spirit does not restrict abundance. Money, flowing as a divine idea, is no less infinite than these. To embody this truth is to approach money with calm assurance, to see it not as a weight of struggle but as a current of freedom. It is not something to fear or chase, but something to trust, to welcome, to release, and to receive again. When money is viewed as a divine idea, the frantic grasping ceases, and the natural rhythm of circulation is restored. Prosperity then becomes a dance, not a fight, a harmony, not a burden. The divine idea sustains itself, nourishes itself, expresses itself, and those who align with it are lifted out of struggle into ease. Faith dissolves fear and clears the channel of supply. For fear is the great obstruction, the cloud that veils the ever-present abundance waiting to flow. Fear whispers of loss, of scarcity, of failure. And the mind that listens begins to build barriers against its own good. Faith is the light that scatters this shadow, the fire that melts the ice of doubt, the cleansing current that opens the way for prosperity to move freely and unhindered. Where fear contracts, faith expands. Where fear says not enough, faith declares more than enough. Where fear blocks the door, faith throws it wide open. And through that opening the riches of spirit pour without limit. Fear is born of illusion, of mistaking appearances for truth. When the bank account appears empty, fear rushes in to say that supply is gone. When opportunities seem scarce, fear insists that doors are closed. Yet these are only shadows, the residue of old beliefs, the outpicturing of thoughts long past. Faith looks beyond the shadow to the eternal substance behind it, to the invisible storehouse that cannot be exhausted. Faith does not argue with appearances, nor does it deny their existence, it simply refuses to be ruled by them. It sees with the eye of spirit, and in that vision, the supply is already present, waiting to break through into form. Every channel of abundance is clogged by fear. The one who fears loss holds tightly, clutching money as though its presence ensures safety, and in that clutching, the flow stops. The one who fears lack speaks words of worry, and those words create walls that block prosperity. The one who fears failure hesitates, delays, and refuses to act, and so opportunities pass by untouched. Fear creates stagnation, a dam in the river of supply. But faith is the command to let the river run. It is the assurance that the source is greater than any appearance, that the supply is infinite, that abundance knows no obstruction except the walls of thought. As those walls dissolve, the river flows again, and what seemed dry becomes fertile with riches. Faith is not mere optimism, nor blind hope, but the deep knowing that abundance is real, present, and responsive. It is the recognition that the universe is orderly, that divine law governs with precision, that good cannot be withheld from the one who aligns with it. Faith is the anchor in truth, the stance of certainty, the refusal to entertain any suggestion of lack. And in this certainty, the channels of supply are cleared, because the subconscious responds to conviction. When you speak words of faith, the subconscious accepts them, imprints them, and shapes the outer world accordingly. Fear cannot survive in the atmosphere of such conviction, it dissolves like mist under the rising sun. The one who cultivates faith begins to see evidence of supply everywhere. A chance encounter, a sudden idea, an unexpected gift, all are recognized as channels through which the law fulfills itself. Fear would dismiss these as coincidences, as too small to matter, but faith sees them as signs of the great river flowing. And as gratitude rises for these tokens, the flow increases, for gratitude is the hand that gathers more. Fear complains and repels, faith blesses and attracts. Thus, by shifting from fear to faith, one shifts from blockage to circulation, from contraction to expansion, from scarcity to abundance. Fear often disguises itself as caution, as logic, as realism. It says, "Be careful, there is not enough," or "Prepare for loss, it is inevitable." But these voices are only echoes of the past, patterns ingrained by repetition, beliefs that no longer serve. Faith, on the other hand, speaks with clarity and authority. There is always enough, for supply is infinite, loss cannot touch the source. My abundance comes not from circumstances, but from divine law. To choose faith is to step out of the prison built by these false voices and into the freedom of truth. And in that freedom, the channels of supply open wide. Faith is magnetic. It draws supply as surely as iron draws to the magnet. The energy of faith radiates assurance, and the universe responds by sending evidence of abundance. Others sense it too, often without realizing why. Doors open more easily, people offer opportunities, wealth seems to find its way. Fear repels, scattering the current, sending confusion into the atmosphere. Faith gathers, harmonizes, focuses the current, and in that focus prosperity appears. To live in faith is to carry an atmosphere of abundance wherever you go, and in that atmosphere, money and supply naturally respond. When fear arises, as it often will, the remedy is to speak the word of faith. Words have power to shift vibration, to clear the inner channel. Saying aloud, "I live in abundance, my supply is secure, all that I need flows to me now," spoken with conviction, dissolves the creeping shadow of lack. Repetition reinforces the truth until fear loses its grip entirely. The act of speaking is not mere comfort, it is command. The subconscious hears. The law responds, the universe obeys. Fear cannot withstand the steady decree of faith, and so the channels are kept open, the river keeps moving. The supply continues to flow. Faith is also action. It does not sit idle, waiting for proof. It steps forward, trusting that the way will appear. Fear hesitates, waiting for certainty before moving, and in the hesitation, opportunities pass. Faith moves, and in the moving, doors appear. Resources arise, provision arrives. The act of faith is the clearing of the channel in motion, the refusal to let fear paralyze or delay. Each step taken in faith is like removing another stone from the riverbed, allowing the current to run more freely. Soon the flow becomes so strong that it cannot be stopped, and prosperity pours forth in abundance. The practice of faith is continual. It must be chosen again and again, for fear will attempt to return, whispering of danger, pointing to appearances. Yet each time faith is chosen, the habit of abundance grows stronger, and the hold of fear weakens. The mind becomes trained to expect supply, to anticipate provision, to assume abundance. And what the mind expects, the law fulfills. Faith becomes natural, the normal stance of thought, and fear fades into irrelevance. The channel, once clogged with worry and doubt, runs clear and open, and the supply flows steadily, without interruption. Prosperity flows through unexpected doors, for the channels through which abundance comes are never limited to the small paths the human mind imagines. When one thinks supply must arrive only through a salary, an investment, or a business, the mind builds walls around the infinite, confining the limitless flow of spirit to narrow corridors. Yet divine law knows no such restriction. The supply already exists in countless forms, waiting for recognition, and it moves into visibility by paths so surprising, so precise that no human planning could have devised them. Prosperity often appears where it was least expected, through doors that seemed invisible until the moment they opened, proving again that the divine is never bound by limitation, and that money flows by law, not by chance. The unexpected door is often the proof of divine order. A closed door is not the end but the preparation for one greater. What appears as a loss, a disappointment, or a delay is often the turning of attention away from the narrow path and toward a wider one. A job may end, a deal may collapse, a plan may fail, yet from that seeming emptiness a new opportunity arises, richer and more perfect than the one imagined. Faith sees beyond the surface, refusing to mourn the closing of one way, trusting that the law never subtracts without multiplying. The unexpected door opens at the precise moment needed, carrying with it the evidence that prosperity flows from the infinite, not from the limited. Prosperity has countless messengers. Sometimes it arrives as money itself, sometimes as an idea, sometimes as a person with a word, a gift, or a connection that changes everything. A thought comes in a moment of silence, a creative spark that blossoms into wealth. A conversation overheard leads to opportunity. A chance meeting becomes the channel for provision. These are not accidents but orchestrations of law, the unseen arranging the scene, aligning people and circumstances to fulfill the decree spoken in faith. The mind that insists prosperity can come only one way often overlooks these messengers, but the mind open to unexpected doors recognizes them instantly and welcomes them. The divine delights in variety. The same river may find 100 paths to the sea, bending around obstacles, splitting into tributaries, carving new courses. Prosperity works the same. If one channel is blocked, it simply flows another way, finding new doors, creating new passages, moving where there was no path before. To insist supply must arrive through one channel is to dam the river, but to release expectation and trust the law is to let the river run freely, winding as it will, always finding its way. The unexpected door is the river's proof that nothing can stop its flow. Those who cling to rigid expectations often miss the very supply they seek. They wait for money from one source, blind to the opportunities arising all around. They pray for abundance, but reject the idea that it could arrive in a new form. Faith loosens this rigidity. Faith knows that the channel is not the source, and therefore any channel can be used. Faith declares the supply secure and allows the law to choose the door. This openness makes the mind receptive, alert, ready to recognize the prosperity that may appear as an unplanned invitation, a sudden inspiration, a gift from an unlikely person, or a door that was invisible until the moment it swung wide. Often the unexpected door is perfectly timed. What appears as delay is in truth alignment. The right channel was not yet prepared, the right people were not yet in place, the right idea was not yet ripe. Then suddenly, at the appointed moment, the door opens effortlessly, and prosperity flows in such abundance that it erases the memory of waiting. The delay proves to have been part of the design, a period of preparation. Fear sees delay as denial, but faith knows delay is often divine timing. The arranging of the perfect channel, so that when the door opens, everything flows smoothly and abundantly. Prosperity may also come through transformation of perception. The unexpected door may not be a new opportunity at all, but the realization that what seemed ordinary was already a channel of wealth. A skill long taken for granted reveals itself as valuable. A relationship thought casual becomes a key to success. A resource overlooked suddenly shines with potential. Faith trains the eyes to see anew, to recognize channels hidden in plain sight. Prosperity does not always arrive as something foreign. Often it is simply the unveiling of what was already present, waiting for recognition. The law of circulation ensures that what is given returns, often through channels far different from where it was sent. A gift given in one place may return multiplied from another. Help offered to one person may be rewarded through an entirely different source. Generosity opens doors unseen, setting in motion currents that circle back in unexpected ways. Fear insists the return must come from the one who received, but faith knows the return may come from any door, at any time, in greater measure than imagined. The unexpected door is often the return of a seed sown long before, blossoming suddenly into visible prosperity. The unexpected door is also the mark of freedom, the proof that one's prosperity is not dependent on any single person, employer, or circumstance. Those who believe they are bound to one channel live in fear, worried that if it closes, supply will vanish. But when the unexpected door opens, It demonstrates that the source is infinite and cannot be confined. The job, the client, the business, the investment, these are only channels. If one closes, another opens, and the flow continues. To know this truth is to live without fear, free from dependence, confident that prosperity is secure because it flows through law, not through chance. Miracles of provision often come disguised as the ordinary, yet behind them is the extraordinary orchestration of law. A bill arrives and is paid unexpectedly. A long-forgotten debt is repaid. A door thought closed forever suddenly opens. A talent once dismissed becomes the foundation of wealth. These are the signs of the unexpected door. The evidence that prosperity is not a struggle but a flow, not a chase but a reception. The law of abundance arranges channels, far beyond the mind's capacity to predict, and faith makes the heart ready to recognize them when they appear. The spoken word multiplies beyond measure, for every declaration released into the atmosphere of spirit is a seed cast into infinite soil, where it cannot fail to grow and expand. Words are not empty sounds, they are containers of vibration, charged with the energy of belief, carrying within them the pattern of the reality they describe. When a word is spoken with faith, it goes forth with creative power, joining with the unseen law that always brings forth after its kind. A single decree of prosperity, sincerely spoken, may set in motion a chain of events that multiply into streams of wealth and opportunity, far beyond the scope of the original thought. Just as a single acorn holds within it an entire forest, so does a single word of truth hold within it infinite supply. The law of the spoken word is multiplication. What is spoken once may echo in the subconscious, shaping thought and action, influencing decisions, creating connections. Speak it again, and the echo grows stronger, layering impression upon impression, until the subconscious accepts it as truth. Once accepted, it reproduces the pattern outwardly, and the results appear multiplied. The law never returns void. Every word spoken is a cause, and every cause bears fruit. The harvest may not appear instantly, but the word, once sown, is already working in the invisible, germinating, expanding, preparing to manifest. When words are charged with emotion, the multiplication accelerates. Fearful words multiply fear, drawing more experiences of lack and loss. Words of faith multiply faith, drawing evidence of abundance and provision. The subconscious does not argue. It simply accepts the strongest impressions given to it. Thus the one who constantly speaks lack multiplies lack, while the one who faithfully speaks abundance multiplies abundance. The difference is not in the external conditions, but in the seed sown through the spoken word. The soil of the subconscious is fertile for both weeds and wheat. It grows what is planted, whether deliberately or carelessly. The multiplication of the spoken word is also exponential. It does not simply add, it multiplies. One declaration may influence not only the speaker, but all who hear it, planting seeds in their consciousness as well. Words of faith spoken in a household can transform the atmosphere of the entire home, lifting thought, dissolving fear, opening channels of prosperity. Words of faith spoken in a community can ripple outward, creating movements, opportunities, and connections far beyond the speaker's reach. Every declaration sends vibrations into the invisible, and those vibrations intersect with countless others, drawing together conditions that fulfill the decree. The power of multiplication is seen in the smallest examples. A simple affirmation spoken daily can transform a life completely. A phrase like, "Money flows to me freely and abundantly," may seem small. Yet when spoken with conviction, it begins to reshape the subconscious. The subconscious then directs action, influences perception, and attracts circumstances that align with the affirmation. Soon one opportunity appears, then another, until the flow becomes undeniable. The single phrase multiplies into visible wealth, not by force but by law. This is the mystery of multiplication. The smallest seed, faithfully sown, produces a harvest far greater than itself. Multiplication also follows the principle of circulation. The word spoken is like money given. It does not diminish by being released but increases. Words of blessing return as blessings multiplied. Words of gratitude return as experiences multiplied to be grateful for. Words of generosity return as channels of generosity flowing back. The one who speaks positively about money invites more of it. The one who blesses another's prosperity multiplies their own. The law is impartial. It magnifies whatever is sound. Words of envy, criticism, or complaint return multiplied in kind, just as words of faith, joy, and abundance return multiplied in their kind. The choice of word is the choice of harvest. The spoken word also sets spiritual law into motion, and spiritual law always operates through channels of multiplication. A farmer who plants one seed does not expect one grain but hundreds, perhaps thousands. Likewise, the one who speaks a single decree should not expect a single return, but a multiplied one. The law of abundance is generous, never stingy, always overflowing. The word sown into this law cannot return in small measure, it returns pressed down, shaken together, running over. This is the guarantee of multiplication, that the spoken word once released returns in greater measure than it was given. Often the multiplication appears in ways the mind could not predict. A word of faith spoken about money may return, not as cash alone, but as opportunities, relationships, ideas, and channels that ultimately produce far more wealth than imagined. The mind may expect a certain result, but the law always exceeds expectation, returning not just what was spoken but multiplied, expanded, magnified. The unexpectedness of the return is part of the proof that the spoken word has power, for the result often arrives by means the intellect could never have devised. The atmosphere created by words also multiplies. A person who speaks abundance consistently develops an aura of prosperity. Others sense it, often unconsciously, and are drawn to them. They are offered opportunities, entrusted with responsibility, included in ventures. This atmosphere is itself the product of multiplied words, each declaration building upon the last, creating a vibration so strong that it radiates outward. The spoken word thus not only multiplies into circumstances but into presence, shaping how others perceive and respond, which in turn creates more opportunities for prosperity to flow. The principle of multiplication can be seen in reverse as well, which is why careless words are so costly. To say, "I cannot afford it," plants a seed of lack that may multiply into many experiences of shortage. To declare, "Money is hard to get," plants a seed that may multiply into endless struggle. The law does not judge, it multiplies impartially. It brings forth whatever is sound. This is why faith must guide the tongue, why the word must be watched carefully, why the decree must be aligned with truth. Every word multiplies, and the harvest will always match the seed. The multiplication of the spoken word is infinite, because it draws not only from personal consciousness, but from the infinite reservoir of divine mind. Words are not merely personal affirmations, they are alignments with universal principles. When one speaks abundance, they are not creating abundance out of nothing, they are opening themselves to the infinite abundance already present. The word multiplies because it taps into infinity, and infinity cannot be exhausted. The more it is spoken, the more it flows, the more it expands, for the source has no limit. Would you like me to weave even more imagery of seed, harvest, and scriptural echoes into this keynote to stretch it fully to a 1,000+ word density, or keep the current rhythm consistent with the earlier expansions? The game of life is a game of choices. To be smart, not stupid, is not simply a matter of intellect, but of spiritual alignment, mental clarity, and intuitive grace. Many imagine that intelligence comes from books, degrees, or clever speech. But true smartness is divine wisdom in action. It is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It is choosing peace over pride, purpose over popularity, clarity over chaos. A smart person listens not only with their ears but with their inner guidance. They do not jump to conclusions, nor do they make decisions based on fear, ego, or anxiety. Instead, they tune into that quiet, knowing voice within that always speaks first, softly, but clearly. The smart person trusts this voice. They know that intuition is the wireless connection to the infinite intelligence, and when we are still, it speaks. To be smart is to understand the law, not just the law of man, but the higher laws, the law of attraction, the law of karma, the law of expectancy, the law of non-resistance. The stupid person fights against life. They complain, they doubt, they try to make things happen. The smart person allows. They speak their word and know it is done. They do not beg life for blessings, they claim them. A smart person blesses their enemies and praises their friends. They do not waste energy on gossip, arguments, or proving a point. For they understand that whatever they fight, they energize, and whatever they resist, persists. Instead of reacting, they respond. Instead of judging, they observe. Instead of worrying, they affirm. And oh, how powerful are their words! The smart person knows the tongue is a mighty sword. They do not speak of lack, failure, or sickness. They say, I am guided, I am protected, I am divinely led, even when appearances shout otherwise. They remain unmoved, rooted in truth, anchored in faith. The smart person is not swayed by the chaos of the world, for their kingdom is not of this world. They know that the outer is but a mirror of the inner, and so they clean their inner house daily, sweeping away resentment, dusting off doubt, polishing faith. Their mind becomes a clear channel through which divine ideas flow freely. New doors open, right people appear. Solutions drop like ripe fruit from the invisible tree. To be smart is to align with the rhythm of the universe. To walk by faith, not by sight. To let go quickly, forgive easily, and expect miracles as the natural order of things. The smart person does not strive, they glide. They do not hustle, they magnetize. They are not arrogant, but humble in the power they carry. They know they are not the source, but the vessel. So we must choose. Will we be smart or stupid? Will we fight the current or float downstream with grace? Will we speak fear or declare faith? Will we react with ego or respond with wisdom? Trust your intuition over impulsive reactions. This is not merely a suggestion, but a spiritual commandment for the one who desires to live wisely and walk in alignment with higher truth. Intuition is the language of the soul. It is the voice of infinite intelligence that speaks within every man, woman, and child. It is quiet, calm, and certain, never rushed, never fearful. It arrives not in panic but in peace. It whispers, while the world shouts. It nudges, while the ego pushes. Intuition is always first to speak, but last to be heard, because most people are not listening. To trust your intuition is to rise above the clamor of the outer world. It is to shut the door on panic, fear, and noise and enter the secret chamber of the heart, where the still small voice gives perfect direction. That voice is never wrong. It does not rationalize, it does not argue, it simply knows. And if followed, it will always lead to right action. Divine timing, perfect outcomes. Most people are ruled not by intuition but by impulse. They make decisions based on fear, emotion, or urgency. They feel pressured, pushed, cornered, and they react. They shout when they should be silent. They run when they should wait. They speak when they should listen. The world has glorified speed, but speed without wisdom is destruction. The smart person knows this. They pause. They listen, they ask, what does my spirit say? And they wait for the answer to rise, not from the intellect, not from the emotions, but from the deep well of inner knowing. Impulse is the child of the ego. It is impatient, aggressive, and loud. It loves to jump to conclusions. It seeks drama, control, and instant gratification. It is always in a rush, it hates to wait. Impulse says, do it now, or lose your chance. Intuition says, wait until you're sure. Impulse screams, something is wrong. Intuition calmly says, all is well. One creates chaos, the other creates peace. People often say, I knew I shouldn't have done it. I had a feeling. That feeling was intuition. But they ignored it because it was quiet. They ignored it because it didn't explain itself. Intuition does not provide long arguments or charts or step-by-step logic. It simply gives a sense, a nudge, a knowing, a feeling of either peace or resistance. And if that feeling of resistance is ignored, the price is always paid. The smart person learns to recognize the tone of that voice. They learn the texture of true guidance. They train their spiritual ears to discern between the clatter of emotion and the clarity of intuition. They understand that intuition is not emotion. Emotion is reactive, unstable, and dependent on external conditions. Intuition is steady, objective, and comes from a higher plane. A decision made in high emotion is rarely wise. A decision made in alignment with intuition is always right, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment. The ego wants to be clever, to control, to dominate. Intuition simply wants to guide. The smart person surrenders the need to be clever and chooses to be clear. They do not act out of obligation, guilt, or fear of missing out. They act because something deep within them says, "This is the way." And when they hear that voice, they move, not out of panic, but with purpose. Not because of pressure, but because of clarity. This kind of inner listening takes practice. It is a discipline. One must become still, silent, receptive. One must step back from the noise of the world, the opinions of others, the chatter of the mind, and enter the temple of the soul. There, one asks, what is right for me? Not, what do they want me to do? Not, what will look best? Not, what do I feel like doing right now? But, what is divinely right in this moment? To cultivate this listening, the smart person makes time for quiet. They journal, they pray, they meditate. They walk alone in nature. They become familiar with the voice of intuition until it becomes louder than the voices of fear, doubt, or social expectation. They test it, they follow it, they learn to trust it. And as they trust it, their life begins to flow. They find themselves in the right place at the right time, speaking the right words, meeting the right people. Life opens up. Problems dissolve before they even appear. Obstacles vanish. Solutions present themselves before the question is fully formed. And still, the world around them may look at them and say, "How did you know?" But they smile and say nothing. For intuition cannot be explained to those who do not listen. The smart person does not argue their inner guidance. They do not seek validation for what they know inside. They simply obey. Obedience to intuition is the highest form of intelligence. It is not passivity. It is not weakness. It is the strength of surrender to the higher path. Trusting intuition also requires courage. The path it points to is not always the easiest or most comfortable. It may say, "Leave that job," when logic says stay. It may say no, when everyone expects you to say yes. It may ask you to walk away, to step up, to risk, to wait. And in these moments, the smart person listens. Not because it is easy, but because it is right. They understand that every act of obedience to the inner voice deepens their connection to it. Each time they follow, the voice becomes clearer, stronger, more immediate. There are times when the impulse feels stronger than the intuition, because fear is loud and stillness is quiet. But even then, intuition waits. It is never gone. It simply steps aside until we are ready to listen again. The smart person forgives themselves for the times they ignored it. They learn from it. They adjust course. They return to the inner compass and say, "Guide me again." And the compass always responds. The outer world is a mirror of the inner. When we follow our intuition, we send out a signal of trust and clarity to the universe. The universe responds in kind. Doors open without force. Right timing is revealed. The people we need show up. The opportunities we desire align. This is not luck, it is law. Inner clarity produces outer ease. Inner confusion produces outer conflict. Impulse produces detours. Intuition produces alignment. It is not about being perfect. It is about being present. The smart person is not free from doubt. They are free from the need to obey it. They feel the emotion, but do not let it drive. They notice the impulse, but do not follow it blindly. They recognize the fear, but wait for the peace. They listen for the quiet, yes, of the soul, and when they hear it, they move, even if the world tells them they're wrong. In the stillness, they remember who they are, not a victim of circumstance, not a slave to impulse, but a vessel of divine wisdom. They remember that intuition is their birthright, their compass, their sacred inheritance. They remember that they are not alone in this life, that there is a higher mind, a higher order, a divine intelligence that knows the way, and whispers it gently, moment by moment, thought by thought, step by step. Speak words of faith, not fear. Words are not idle, they are seeds. They go forth into the invisible and create form. Every word spoken plants itself in the fertile soil of the subconscious mind and grows after its kind. Words of faith yield blessings, harmony, and success. Words of fear produce delays, struggles, and loss. The smart person understands that their mouth is a creative instrument. What they speak becomes law. What they declare becomes their experience. Most people speak carelessly, unaware that they are issuing decrees with every sentence. They say things like, "I'm always broke. I can't catch a break. This always happens to me," and then wonder why misfortune seems to follow them. These are not harmless expressions, they are self-fulfilling prophecies. Words of fear bind, limit, and delay. They call forth the very conditions one seeks to avoid. Fearful speech is magnetic to negative experiences. The smart person chooses their words with reverence, for they know that the universe listens and responds. To speak words of faith is not to ignore appearances, but to rise above them. It is to look a problem in the eye and say, "Even this shall pass. Even this shall be made right. I am divinely guided, and nothing can harm me." Faith speaks in the language of certainty, not desperation. It does not beg, it declares. It does not hope, it knows. Faith says, "I am provided for." Even when the bank account is low, it says, "I am healed." Even when the diagnosis is grim, it says, "Everything is unfolding perfectly," even when circumstances appear chaotic. Fearful people believe that their words must reflect their situation. They think it dishonest to say, "I am well," when they are sick, or "I am wealthy," when they are in debt. But spiritual law does not operate by the visible. It responds to the spoken word backed by belief. The smart person understands this paradox. They know that speaking the truth of the soul is more powerful than describing the facts of the moment. They declare what they desire to see, not what they currently observe. Speaking words of faith requires discipline. The world trains people to complain, to doubt, to gossip, to dramatize. But the one who desires mastery over life must gain mastery over the tongue. The uncontrolled tongue is like a wild horse. It can destroy. The trained tongue is a golden chariot, carrying the speaker swiftly toward their good. The smart person speaks deliberately. They ask themselves before speaking, "Is this rooted in faith or in fear?" If the answer is fear, they are silent. If it is faith, they speak it boldly. Many wonder why their affirmations seem ineffective. They say, "I repeated the positive words, but nothing changed." This is because the words were empty. Faith is not in the syllables, it is in the vibration behind the words. To say, "I am prosperous," while feeling fear and doubt is to cancel the affirmation before it has time to take root. The smart person does not merely recite, they embody. They fill their words with conviction. They speak from the place of knowing, not wishing. To cultivate this kind of speech, one must first cleanse the heart. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. If the heart is filled with resentment, worry, and guilt, then even the most beautiful words will carry the frequency of fear. The smart person examines their inner state. They release what is false. They forgive past wrongs. They neutralize bitterness with blessing. Then, when they speak, their words are pure vessels of light and power. Faith-filled speech is not just for moments of crisis. It is a way of life. It is saying, "Thank you," before the blessing arrives. It is saying, "I am safe," before the path is clear. It is saying yes to life, even when circumstances seem to say no. The smart person builds a habit of faith, language in small things, so that when the storm comes, their tongue does not default to fear. They speak life into their home, their work, their body, their relationships. They speak hope when others complain. They speak solutions when others speak problems. Their words uplift, direct, and bless. Words of faith also carry authority. They are not passive. They command. The smart person speaks with the certainty of one who knows they are backed by divine power. They say, "Doors open for me now," and the doors swing wide. They say, "The right people are drawn to me," and the people appear. They say, "Nothing and no one can stop my good," and obstacles dissolve. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is standing in the truth of who one really is, a creator, not a victim. Fearful words, on the other hand, weaken the speaker. They broadcast doubt, confusion, and vulnerability. They attract unwanted situations. The person who constantly says, "I can't. I'm afraid. What if it goes wrong?" is sowing seeds of struggle. These seeds may not sprout immediately, but they will take root. The smarty person refuses to plant what they do not want to harvest. They weed the garden of their speech daily. If a fear-based thought arises, they do not speak it. They transform it. They say, "I release this thought. I choose to speak only what I desire to see." This practice does not mean denying emotions. Emotions arise, and the smart person feels them fully, but they do not speak them into permanence. They may feel afraid, but they do not say, "I am doomed." Instead, they say, "Even now, I am being guided." They do not speak limitation into their life story. They do not make declarations rooted in temporary discomfort. They speak from the higher self, the eternal truth, the part of them that is untouched by circumstance. Children instinctively understand this. They speak with boldness. They say, "I'm a superhero. I'm the fastest. I'm amazing," without apology or doubt. Somewhere along the way, the world teaches people to speak smaller, to temper their light, to hedge their declarations. The smart person reclaims that childlike certainty. They remember the creative power of the word. They say, "I am worthy. I am whole. I am ready." And they say it not as a wish but as a decree. This way of speaking also influences others. Words of faith uplift not only the speaker but the listener. In a room full of fear, one voice of truth can shift the energy. The smart person uses their words to build, to bless, to calm, to guide. They do not waste their breath on gossip or criticism. They use their words as instruments of healing. They speak favor over others. They say, "You've got this. You're not alone. Something good is coming." And those words take root in the hearts of those who hear them. Their speech becomes a ministry. It is said that words are spells. That is why we spell them. Each sentence is a casting of intent into the fabric of reality. The smart person treats this power with reverence. They know that a careless word can wound deeply, and a kind word can heal. They do not say what they do not mean. They do not predict doom or speak defeat. They speak as one whose words are watched, for they know they are always planting, always directing energy, always creating. Align with universal laws, not ego. The universe is governed by fixed principles, invisible yet unchanging, eternal yet immediate. These laws are not invented by humankind. They are discovered. They existed before language, before belief, before any religion. Just as gravity pulls with silent certainty, the spiritual laws work in stillness and precision. They do not bend to opinion, emotion, or circumstance. The smart person learns to recognize and live by these laws, for they are the blueprint of a harmonious life. The ego, on the other hand, is loud, reactive, and unstable. It thrives on control, separation, comparison, and fear. It believes that life must be forced, manipulated, and defended. It does not trust flow. It believes in fight. The ego resists the universal order because it wants to be the sole ruler. It wants to claim credit for every success and assign blame for every failure. It is addicted to appearances and obsessed with outcomes. The smart person sees through this illusion and aligns instead with what is real, what is true, and what is permanent. There is a law of cause and effect. What you sow, you reap. Every thought, word, and action plants a seed in the unseen, and that seed will return a harvest in due season. The ego believes it can cheat this law, cut corners, or manipulate outcomes. It thinks it can lie without consequence, hate without return, take without loss. But the law is impersonal and unyielding. It delivers not what one wants, but what one gives. The smart person knows this and chooses their inner world carefully. They guard their thoughts. They bless rather than curse. They forgive rather than avenge. They trust that every generous act returns multiplied, every fearful impulse must be dissolved, and nothing escapes the balance of divine law. There is the law of vibration. Everything is energy and everything vibrates. Thoughts are not invisible, they are magnetic. Feelings are not private, they radiate. The ego clings to the idea that thoughts are neutral unless acted upon, but the universal law responds to the frequency behind every intention. What you expect, you invite. What you believe, you build. What you fear, you feed. The smart person raises their vibration deliberately. They choose thoughts that reflect the world they wish to live in, not the one they fear. They speak not of what is lacking, but of what is already on its way. They do not wait for conditions to improve. They improve their own alignment first. Knowing the outer must follow the inner. The law of divine timing is another that the ego resents. The ego demands instant gratification. It wants results now, applause now, answers now. It views waiting as weakness. But the smart person trusts the perfect unfolding of events. They understand that what is truly theirs can never be withheld, and what delays them may be refining them. They do not rush, force, or panic. They take inspired action and then release the outcome, knowing that right timing is never late. They align with patience, not passivity. They move when moved by spirit, not pushed by fear. Another great law is the law of assumption. What you assume to be true becomes your reality. The ego doubts, questions, and sabotages. It assumes danger, rejection, and failure. It replays past disappointments and projects them onto the future. The smart person chooses differently. They assume success, they assume favor, they assume ease. Not as fantasy, but as alignment with what is possible through higher law. They walk as if their good is already theirs. They speak as if doors have already opened. They live from the end, not toward it. This alignment collapses delays and draws outcomes swiftly, for belief is the fuel of manifestation. The ego thrives on resistance. It believes that struggle is noble, that effort proves worth, that pain is the price of progress. But universal law works through ease. Nature does not strain to bloom, nor does the sun force itself to shine. The smart person lets go of the ego's attachment to struggle. They do not glorify burnout, competition, or overwork. They align with the law of flow, which says that what is right for you comes without strain. When resistance arises, they do not push harder. They pause, listen, and redirect. They move with life, not against it. There is also the law of oneness. All is connected. What you do to another, you do to yourself. The ego lives in separation. It sees others as competitors, threats, or tools. It creates hierarchies, judgments, and divisions. It seeks superiority through exclusion. But the universal law reveals unity. The smart person sees others not as enemies or rivals, but as reflections of their own consciousness. They bless those who curse them. They celebrate the success of others as proof of what is possible. They do not tear others down to feel taller. They rise by lifting others. They align with the truth that what is sent out returns, and so they send only what they wish to receive. The ego craves control. It clings to plans, predictions, and preferences. It fears the unknown and tries to dominate the unfolding of events. But the universal laws require surrender. Surrender is not defeat, it is alignment. The smart person lets go of needing to know every detail. They release the how and trust the law to handle the logistics. They hold the vision but let the path unfold. They move with inspired clarity but not rigid attachment. They replace control with cooperation, planning with presence. The ego also loves complexity. It confuses, distracts, and overcomplicates. It believes that success must be difficult and answers must be hidden. But universal truth is simple. What you give, returns. What you believe manifests. What you align with, becomes your experience. The smart person avoids overthinking and analysis paralysis. They do not seek endless proof or validation. They trust the simplicity of divine order. They clear their inner space and allow clarity to emerge. Gratitude is another force aligned with universal law. It multiplies good and dissolves limitation. The ego sees only what is missing. It compares, complains, and craves. But gratitude sees what is already working. It amplifies blessings by acknowledging them. The smart person gives thanks before the evidence appears. They cultivate appreciation not just as a feeling, but as a frequency. Gratitude is not passive, it is magnetic. It draws more to be grateful for. It signals to the law that the individual is ready to receive more. The law of detachment is often misunderstood. The ego thinks detachment means not caring, but in truth it means not clinging. The smart person desires fully, but without desperation. They hold their dreams like a bird in an open palm, not clenched in a fist. They trust the law to deliver in the best way, even if it looks different than they imagined. They do not measure success by appearances. They measure alignment. They know that the ego will always want more, but the soul desires truth. Humility is also essential to alignment. The ego seeks praise and superiority. It wants to be right, to be admired, to be worshipped. But universal law favors the humble, not the timid, but the clear. The smart person does not need to prove themselves. They serve quietly, they give generously. They remain teachable. They do not believe they are above others, nor do they pretend to be beneath them. They simply are, and they allow others to be. There is a rhythm to everything, a divine intelligence that orders the stars, the tides, the breath. The smart person aligns with that rhythm. They do not rush ahead, nor do they lag behind. They feel when to move, when to wait, when to act, when to release. They trust that this intelligence is greater than their limited view. They know that the ego panics in uncertainty, but the soul rests in knowing. The more they release the need to control, the more miracles unfold without effort. They stop striving and start aligning. They stop demanding and start receiving. They understand that the ego resists what already belongs to them, while alignment allows it in. Protect your energy like treasure. Your energy is your currency, your vibration, your influence, your shield, your magnet. It determines what you attract, how you feel, what you notice, and how others respond to you. To the smart person, energy is not abstract, it is practical. It is the very fuel of their clarity, their peace, their intuition, their creativity. When it is scattered, polluted, or drained, they cannot think clearly, love deeply, or move wisely. So, they guard it, not out of fear but out of wisdom. They treat it like sacred gold, because that is exactly what it is. People trade their energy for approval, for likes, for petty arguments, for the illusion of control, for proving their worth. They exhaust themselves pleasing people who are not pleased by anything. They drain themselves responding to every comment, every conflict, every demand that comes their way. The smarty person no longer lives this way. They recognize what steals their peace. They step back from emotional clutter, from energetic vampires, from mental noise. They stop giving access to those who only take. Stop explaining themselves to those committed to misunderstanding, and stop leaking energy into holes that never fill. Protecting your energy means becoming deeply selective about your focus. Where your attention goes, energy flows. If your attention is constantly pulled to chaos, gossip, negativity, and lack, your energy will reflect that. You will feel tired, irritated, restless, and empty. The smart person redirects their gaze. They look toward growth, beauty, peace, and purpose. They do not stare at the problem for hours. They seek solutions. They do not obsess over what is missing, they appreciate what is present. They do not feed the noise, they nourish the stillness. Their attention is not free, it is invested with intention. Energy protection also means understanding boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. The smart person decides who walks through those doors. They do not allow anyone to enter their field with disrespect, manipulation, or drama. They do not keep people around out of guilt or fear. They do not allow their kindness to be mistaken for endless access. They say no, not with hardness but with honor. They say no to conversations that drain, commitments that distract, relationships that deplete. Every no to what dishonors them is a yes to their power. Some protect their homes more than their minds. They lock the doors but leave their inner space wide open to every fear, every demand, every insult. The smart person locks the mind as firmly as the house. They become conscious of what thoughts they entertain. They do not invite every worry to sit and stay. They do not replay old arguments like background music. They keep their mental space clean, calm, and aligned. If a negative thought knocks, they answer with truth. If an anxious thought arises, they soothe it, not with panic but with presence. Their energy is not left to chance, it is curated. Technology is one of the greatest drains of modern energy. Endless scrolling, passive consumption, digital noise, it all fragments the focus and saps vitality. The smart person limits their exposure. They choose when to be online, what to consume, and why. They do not wake up to notifications and feed their mind chaos before the day even begins. They reclaim their mornings, protect their sleep, and create digital boundaries. They understand that quiet is not empty, it is powerful. In stillness, energy is restored, clarity returns, and guidance flows. Relationships either nourish or drain, uplift or confuse. The smart person audits their circle without apology. They do not tolerate emotional games, passive aggression, or energetic dependence. They do not confuse history with alignment. They love deeply, but they love themselves enough to walk away when necessary. They do not chase connection. They attract it through resonance. They surround themselves with those who respect their time, honor their growth, and match their energy. They know that one true connection is worth more than 100 shallow ones. They keep their circle sacred, not crowded. The body is the vessel of energy. To protect energy is to care for the body. The smart person listens to their physical cues. They rest when tired, move when stagnant, hydrate when dry, nourish when depleted. They do not push themselves beyond balance in the name of achievement. They do not punish their body with guilt or shame. They create rituals of renewal, walks in nature, baths of silence, meals of gratitude, moments of movement. They honor their body as an altar, a channel for intuition and joy. Their energy is grounded, not scattered. Silence is a sanctuary for energy. The world is loud and the ego thrives in noise. The smart person creates intentional silence. They step away from the crowd, the constant, the chaotic. In silence, they hear their own voice again. In silence, the wisdom within rises. In silence, the energy they gave away returns home. They do not fear being alone, they cherish it. Solitude is not loneliness, it is presence with self. It is a sacred meeting with spirit. The smart person turns down the outer volume to hear the inner knowing. Energy is also affected by what is unspoken. Unexpressed anger, unhealed wounds, unresolved grief, these are silent drains. The smart person does not bury their emotions. They acknowledge, feel, and release. They write it out, cry it through, speak it safely. They do not carry the weight of unprocessed pain into tomorrow. They do not perform wellness while suppressing truth. Emotional honesty is energy hygiene. They know that what is felt can be healed. What is denied grows heavier. They lighten their load by living emotionally clean. Words carry energy. Every word spoken either lifts or lowers vibration. The smart person speaks with care. They do not curse their lives with complaint, do not drain their field with gossip, do not weaken themselves with sarcasm and self-deprecation. They bless their path with kind language. They affirm their worth, their strength, their direction. They speak light into their space, speak healing into their days. Their words match their energy, and their energy shapes their experience. Many give their energy to the past. Regrets, grudges, memories loop endlessly. But the past is a closed door. The smart person withdraws their energy from what cannot be changed. They bless the past, release the attachment, and bring their full power to the now. Energy in the present multiplies. Energy trapped in memory withers. They reclaim the power once lost in old stories and invest it in new creation. Comparison is another thief of energy. The ego thrives on measuring itself against others. But the smart person knows that comparison is a lie. No one has your path, your purpose, your timing. They do not spend energy watching someone else's garden bloom. They water their own. They celebrate others without diminishing themselves. They understand that someone else's success is not their failure. They are too focused on their alignment to be distracted by envy. Energy is also protected through spiritual connection. Whether through prayer, meditation, visualization, or silence, the smart person returns daily to the source. They recharge in the invisible. They draw strength not just from food or rest, but from truth. They speak with their higher self. They receive clarity from the field of the unseen. They know that energy is not just physical, it is soul deep. And when the soul is nourished, the energy glows. Living wisely means spending energy on what feeds, not what bleeds. The smart person asks, does this lift me? Does this align with my truth? Does this reflect love or fear? They do not react, they respond. They do not explain, they embody. They do not chase, they attract. Their energy is not random, it is sovereign. They live like guardians of a sacred flame, and that flame lights the way forward. Think long, not loud. The smart person does not rush to speak just to be heard. They do not confuse volume with value, reaction with wisdom, or speed with substance. They understand that the loudest voice is often not the wisest, and that many speak only to fill the silence, not to reveal truth. In a world obsessed with immediate opinions, instant reactions, and attention-grabbing declarations, the smart person chooses instead to think deeply, speak thoughtfully, and act intentionally. They know that real power is quiet, real clarity is calm, and real intelligence waits for understanding before it demands attention. Thinking long means pausing between stimulus and response. It means allowing space for reflection, for discernment, for observation. The ego rushes. It feels threatened by silence and impatient with process. It wants to be first, not right. But the smart person recognizes the strength of stillness. They know that wisdom does not shout. It listens. It gathers. It weighs. It reflects. It does not race to conclusion but walks to insight. The smart person is not interested in winning arguments. They are interested in seeing clearly. They do not throw words like darts. They shape them like keys. To think long is to see beyond the moment. It means stepping back from the heat of emotion and looking through the eyes of time. The loud thinker reacts to what is immediate. They are consumed by the now, triggered by every shift, pulled into every storm. The long thinker sees the bigger picture. They ask, will this matter in 5 years? Is this the real issue, or just the symptom? Am I responding from wisdom or wound? They do not allow fleeting moods to drive permanent decisions. They rise above the noise of urgency to listen to the whisper of vision. Thinking long also means caring more about truth than ego. The ego wants to be right, not wise. It speaks over others, defends its position, clings to its story. But the smart person is willing to change their mind. They do not fear being wrong. They fear remaining blind. They study themselves as much as they study others. They ask hard questions and do not flinch at the answers. They recognize that growth often comes through discomfort, and that the truth may contradict what they once believed. They are not loyal to their opinions. They are loyal to their evolution. Loud thinkers often seek to impress. They want to appear certain, strong, informed, important. They speak more than they listen. They fill space with words instead of wisdom. But the smart person does not perform intelligence. They embody it. They are not interested in being impressive. They are interested in being effective. They know that true influence does not come from noise, but from clarity. Their thoughts are not rushed, and their words are not wasted. They would rather say one thing that transforms than 10 things that distract. They carry presence more than persuasion. To think long is to think beyond self. It means considering the impact of your words and actions, not just on your own life, but on the lives around you. The smart person asks, what does this decision ripple into? Who does this choice affect? Is this beneficial or just convenient? They understand that leadership begins with responsibility. That the mind must be trained not only to analyze, but to empathize. They do not think only for their own gain. They think for the good of the whole. They are not caught in the vanity of personal victories, but are committed to collective wisdom. The practice of thinking long sharpens the inner voice. When the world shouts with noise, urgency, and distraction, the smart person turns inward. They make space for their own insight to emerge. Not recycled thoughts, not borrowed beliefs, but original, conscious perspective. They journal. They meditate. They walk. They sit with questions instead of demanding immediate answers. They know that deep thinking is not about complication. It is about clarity. The deeper the roots, the higher the reach. They allow time for thoughts to mature, for intuition to rise, for alignment to crystallize. They do not confuse mental noise with mental strength. Thinking long means thinking ahead. It means planting seeds, not just picking fruit. The smart person sees decisions as seeds. They understand that what they do now shapes what grows later. They do not act for applause. They act for results. They are not driven by how things look, but by how they unfold. They prepare for seasons not yet here. They make choices their future self will thank them for. While others chase quick wins, they invest in deep foundations. They know that some rewards come only to those willing to wait, build, and endure. They do not fear the long road. They walk it with quiet confidence. There is also discipline in thinking long. Discipline to resist impulsive reactions, to pause before speaking, to question before concluding. The smart person does not let mood drive meaning. They do not let urgency dictate truth. They take responsibility for their perceptions. They recognize that not everything deserves a response, and not every reaction deserves energy. They develop the strength to observe without absorbing, to witness without collapsing, to engage without losing their center. Their mind is not chaotic, it is trained, not rigid but refined. Thinking long invites grace. Grace for others, grace for self, grace for the process. The smart person does not demand perfection, only progress. They know that understanding takes time, and that growth is not always loud or visible. They do not rush others into change nor shame themselves for evolving slowly. They honor the timing of insight, the layers of healing, the unfolding of clarity. They do not interrupt the process with premature certainty. They let things ripen. They let wisdom arrive in its own way, in its own time. The world often rewards the loudest voice, but the smart person is not chasing applause. They are pursuing alignment. They speak only when their words carry weight. They act only when their steps are guided by insight. They trust that silence can be louder than noise, that presence can speak louder than opinion, and that understanding grows not from speaking first, but from listening fully. In conversations, the smart person does not dominate. They create space. They ask questions, they listen with curiosity, they pause before responding. They are not waiting to talk. They are learning, absorbing, reflecting. They do not argue for the sake of being right. They explore for the sake of uncovering truth. They do not speak to fill silence. They speak to bridge understanding. Their communication is rooted not in the need to impress, but in the desire to connect. They are aware of the energy behind their thoughts. Loud thinking is often anxious, defensive, or self-absorbed. Long thinking is calm, centered, and spacious. The smart person clears the emotional fog before they try to make sense of anything. They ask, is this thought coming from fear or clarity? Is this belief rooted in truth or habit? They challenge their assumptions. They are not seduced by their own biases. They grow beyond them. They understand that every belief is a lens, and if the lens is dirty, the vision will be distorted. They think long because they live long. Not in years, but in depth. They are not reacting to today, they are shaping the whole story. They are not chasing the next thing. They are building something enduring. They make decisions not just for now, but for legacy. They do not seek to be impressive today, they seek to be impactful over time. Their mind is not loud, but luminous, quiet, aware, deliberate, and deeply, deeply alive. There is a power in the spoken word. Words are not idle sounds, they are seeds, alive with the energy of creation. What one dares to declare, the universe dares to deliver. Too often, people speak lack, fear, and limitation, and so the garden of their life bears thorns. But when the tongue is aligned with truth, with faith, and with the infinite supply of spirit, it becomes a golden key that unlocks abundance without measure. The world tells you to labor, to strive, to climb with weary feet up mountains of competition. Yet the Spirit whispers, rest in the word. For the word carries more power than effort, more wealth than toil, more certainty than calculation. I have seen the invisible laws move, the silent forces rearrange. The unseen currents bend toward the one who dares to speak with authority. Riches are not a matter of coins, they are a vibration. Abundance is not withheld, it is ever present, awaiting recognition. The moment you recognize it, the moment you dare to proclaim it, the storehouses of heaven swing open and pour forth treasures pressed down, shaken together, and running over. One declaration spoken with conviction is worth more than a lifetime of struggle. For the universe does not respond to hesitation, but to certainty. It does not honor pleading, but commands clothed in faith. When the soul stands tall and utters its decree without doubt, creation rushes to obey. So it was with me. I did not ask timidly, I declared boldly. I did not beg for provision, I spoke as one who already possessed. In that instant, the invisible became visible. The unseen streams of wealth took form and flowed toward me, not as a trickle, but as a flood. The riches of many channels appeared, the gates of opportunity opened wide, and I became a multi-billionaire. Not through accumulation, but through realization, for money is but a shadow of supply. The true supply is spirit, infinite, inexhaustible, and immediate. When I aligned my word with this truth, the outer reflected it in glorious abundance. I spoke one sentence, yet it was not merely a sentence, it was law. And law never fails. You too may hold this same power. For every soul is given the divine right to declare its good. The key is faith without wavering, speech without contradiction, and trust without fear. To say a thing and then to doubt it is to plant a seed and then uproot it. But to say a thing once, with assurance, and to rest in its fulfillment, is to command the soil of the universe to bear fruit without delay. The riches of life are yours for the claiming. The treasures of heaven are yours for the speaking. What you dare to utter with full authority is already waiting in the unseen. Declare your wealth, your health, your joy, your perfect success, and know that the moment you say it, it is done. There is a power so vast, so immediate, so certain, that it cannot be measured by human hands. It is the power of the spoken word, and it stands as the very axis upon which worlds turn. When the word is spoken with faith, when it is declared with authority, when it is released into the ethers with no doubt, it becomes flesh, it becomes form, it becomes reality. The lips are not mere instruments of sound, they are the channels of creation. Each syllable is a command, each phrase a decree, each word a seed carrying the law of its own unfolding. Too long has humanity believed that wealth is earned only through struggle, through ceaseless striving, through endless labor. Too long has the mind been conditioned to see money as scarce, as something to be fought for, as a prize won by competition. But the Spirit knows no such law. Spirit whispers of abundance, of supply without end, of treasures unseen and infinite. Spirit says, all that is mine is thine, and it is given freely. Yet many turn a deaf ear, believing only in the toil of their hands and the calculations of their minds. And so they remain bound by the very chains they forged with their own words of limitation. When the consciousness is lifted, when the eye within sees clearly, when the tongue dares to declare truth, everything changes. The invisible becomes visible. The hidden becomes revealed. The substance of spirit crystallizes into form. One declaration made in the vibration of certainty shifts universes. One word spoken in faith commands the hosts of heaven to move. One decree, clothed in conviction, bends the whole of creation toward fulfillment. I stood in that place where doubt would have me bow, where fear would have me silent, where reason would have me small. Yet I refused to accept the counsel of limitation. I knew that words are messengers, and that they return not void but accomplished. So I spoke, not with hesitation, not with uncertainty, but with authority. And as the words left my lips, they carried the force of law. The universe, obedient and exact, answered as it must. In the very instant I declared it, wealth became mine. Not by slow trickle, not by gradual climb, but by sudden flood. For the riches of spirit know no delay. They do not stumble over process or calculation. They appear the moment they are recognized, the moment they are accepted, the moment they are spoken into being. I became a multi-billionaire the moment I said it, because the law of supply responds only to recognition. It does not answer striving, it answers faith. Money is but the outer shadow of inner substance. The true riches are in spirit, infinite and inexhaustible. To hold a coin in the hand without knowing spirit is to hold only metal. To declare abundance from spirit is to summon streams that never run dry. The outer wealth is a symbol, a reflection, a picture of what already exists in the unseen. The unseen is the real treasure, and the word unlocks it. So many waste their days planting weeds with careless speech. They speak of lack, and so lack grows. They speak of fear, and so fear multiplies. They declare sickness, and sickness appears. They speak of debt, and debt surrounds them. Each word is a seed, and the soil of the universe does not discriminate. It gives back in kind what has been planted. But when the word is aligned with spirit, when it carries the vibration of truth, it cannot fail to yield a harvest of good. The lips were not given to man for idle chatter. They were given as instruments of creation. Every utterance carries energy, every declaration sends forth a command. To speak lack is to command poverty, to speak abundance is to command wealth. To speak fear is to call forth loss. To speak faith is to summon triumph. What is spoken with conviction becomes law unto the speaker. It is not effort that makes the word powerful. It is faith. One need not repeat endlessly, as though the spirit were deaf. The word spoken once with certainty is enough, for the universe requires no reminder. To doubt and repeat is to uproot the seed. To declare and rest is to trust the harvest. The law is precise, unfailing, unbending. It cannot be broken, only obeyed. There are those who will say, but how can words create riches? How can a sentence shape reality? To them, the answer is simple. Words are the vibration of thought made audible. Thought is the mold, the word is the decree, and the spirit is the substance that fills the mold. When the word is spoken, spirit rushes to occupy the shape declared. What is unseen becomes seen, because the command has been given. I did not work for billions, I spoke billions. I did not chase wealth, I declared wealth. And in the moment of my declaration, it was mine. For spirit withholds nothing. It does not delay, it does not ration, it does not measure. It flows according to recognition. The outer form may take many shapes. Investments, opportunities, open doors. But these are but shadows of the inner truth already decreed. Every soul has this power. Every tongue holds this authority. Every man and woman can declare their wealth, their health, their joy, their success. But they must speak as those who know, not as those who beg. They must declare as masters, not as servants. They must utter their decree with assurance, without contradiction, without fear. For the universe responds not to wavering, but to certainty. One declaration is enough when it is spoken in truth. One word can overturn years of lack. One decree can dissolve mountains of debt. One sentence can summon fortunes untold. For the law does not ask how long you have struggled. It asks only, what have you declared? The answer to that question shapes the life you live. The lips are the key to the treasury of heaven. The voice is the command that opens or closes the gates of supply. The one who learns to speak with faith, who learns to utter decrees without doubt, who learns to align words with truth, holds in their possession the secret of effortless abundance. There is a law higher than the laws of men, a law written not upon paper, but upon the fabric of the universe. It is the law of the spoken word, the law that governs creation itself. Every utterance carries within it the seed of its own fulfillment. To speak is not merely to communicate, it is to command. The lips shape the vibration shapes the substance, and the substance shapes the world. Those who know this law live as creators, while those who ignore it stumble as victims of their own careless words. From the beginning, the word has held dominion, light came forth by a word. Order was born from chaos by a word. The seas, the stars, the earth itself, all responded to the decree spoken into the void. That same authority has been placed within the human tongue. Each person carries the power to speak forth light into darkness, abundance into emptiness, wealth into lack. The difference lies not in the capacity, but in the recognition. Many carry the key but never turn it. The world teaches effort as the only path to prosperity. It whispers of endless striving, competition, and struggle. Yet effort without word is a house without a foundation. To labor without decree is to toil in shifting sand. The wise know that the word is the beginning of all manifestation. Work may gather, but the word multiplies. Effort may build, but the word establishes. One declaration spoken in faith is worth more than years of unfruitful striving. I once stood in the place where reason offered me calculation, where fear presented me with limitation, where doubt whispered of impossibility. Yet I chose the higher law. I spoke not according to what I saw, but according to what I knew. My eyes beheld limitation, but my tongue declared abundance. My hands were empty, but my voice proclaimed fullness. My circumstances seemed small, but my decree was vast. In that moment, the invisible shifted. In that instant, unseen forces moved. I became a multi-billionaire the moment I said it, because the declaration aligned me with the eternal storehouses of supply. Wealth is not earned in the way the world believes. Wealth is spoken, then received. It is not the result of endless struggle, but of conscious alignment. Money is the shadow, spirit is the substance. The moment spirit is acknowledged through the decree, the shadow appears. To chase the shadow is to exhaust oneself. To claim the substance is to summon the shadow without effort. Every man and woman speaks their life into being daily, though many do not realize it. Words of worry create walls. Words of fear build barriers. Words of complaint sow seeds of limitation. And then they wonder why doors remain closed, why paths remain blocked, why opportunities vanish. They have unknowingly decreed their own obstacles. The soil of the universe does not discriminate, it simply yields what is planted. If weeds are spoken, weeds will grow. If flowers are spoken, flowers will bloom. The secret lies in the unwavering word. One must speak as though the thing is already done. To declare with doubt is to cancel the decree. To speak with fear is to contradict the law. But to utter a word clothed in certainty is to release a command that cannot return void. The universe is exact, precise, unfailing. It bends not to hesitation but to conviction. I did not repeat endlessly. I did not plead as though the source could forget me. I spoke once, with assurance, and I rested in the knowing. For the law does not require reminders, it requires faith. To declare and then question is to plant and then uproot. To declare and then rest is to plant and water, allowing the harvest to ripen. And so the harvest came. Not in trickles, not in portions, but in floods. Billions came because billions were declared. The moment I said it, the channels opened. Invisible rivers of wealth took form and found their way to me. Doors swung open, opportunities multiplied, connections appeared. But these were not the cause, they were the effect. The cause was the word spoken in faith. The world saw fortune, I saw law in motion. The world saw sudden riches, I saw eternal truth fulfilling itself without delay. And yet the riches themselves are not the heart of the matter. They are but symbols, outward reflections of inward alignment. The true treasure lies in the knowledge that nothing is withheld, that all is available, that the storehouses of spirit are inexhaustible. Wealth is but one expression of this law. Health, joy, love, and success all stand waiting for the command. The word is the key that unlocks every door. The voice was never given for idle chatter. It was given as the instrument of creation. Each utterance carries power. Each syllable contains force. To misuse it is to create unconsciously, to invite chaos through careless decree. To master it is to stand as creator, shaping life with precision. To say, I am poor, is to bind oneself with chains. To say, I am rich, is to loose the floodgates of abundance. To declare sickness is to summon it, to declare health is to embody it. The tongue is both sword and key, capable of destroying or unlocking the kingdom of good. The world may doubt this truth, but the law is not moved by disbelief. Gravity does not cease because one denies it. The law of the word does not falter because one mocks it. It continues to operate, silently, faithfully, shaping each life according to the decrees spoken. Whether conscious or unconscious, the word creates. Therefore, the wise guard their lips as treasure, for within them lies the power of life and death, wealth and lack, bondage and freedom. I chose freedom, I chose wealth, I chose abundance, and I spoke them into being. I did not wait for proof follows proclamation. I did not wait for signs appear after the decree. I did not wait for doors are built by the word. I spoke, and the world conformed. I declared, and the substance obeyed. I proclaimed, and the shadow of money appeared in overflowing measure. Every soul holds this same authority. Every voice carries the same creative fire. The difference lies only in the use. Some spend their days decreeing limitation, others spend their days declaring truth. Some use their word to bind, others to set free. The moment one realizes the power of decree, life changes. The moment one dares to speak with certainty, the unseen bends to their will. The word spoken in truth is a force greater than gold, stronger than armies, swifter than light. It is the invisible current that shapes the visible world, the unseen architect of all circumstance, the quiet master behind the stage of life. To speak with conviction is to write upon the ethers, and the ethers obey without hesitation. They do not pause to question. They do not delay to deliberate. They move in exact accordance with what has been declared. The lips, then, are the doorway between the unseen and the seen, between thought and form, between spirit and matter. Every life is a reflection of the words spoken into it. The conditions around you are not accidents, they are echoes. The lack you see is the shadow of words once spoken in fear. The abundance you see is the fruit of words once spoken in faith. The universe mirrors the tongue, for the tongue is the command center of creation. The careless word builds walls, the faithful word opens gates. The doubtful word scatters, the certain word gathers. I stood once with empty hands and silent accounts, yet I was not bound by what I saw. I knew that the outer is but the echo of the inner, and that the inner is shaped by the decree of the tongue. So I lifted my voice, not in complaint, not in fear, not in timid asking, but in bold declaration. I declared wealth, I declared abundance, I declared overflowing supply. And in that very moment, the unseen currents shifted, and the outer began to reflect the inner word. I became a multi-billionaire not by waiting, not by laboring, but by declaring. The world teaches that wealth comes through effort alone, that money must be earned inch by inch, drop by drop, day by day. But the higher law reveals that effort without word is barren. Labor without decree is empty motion. One word spoken in alignment with spirit carries more weight than a lifetime of toil. For spirit is the substance, and the word is the key that unlocks it. To speak is to command, and to command is to receive. Many fail because they speak two languages at once. With one breath they declare abundance, with the next they speak of lack. With one word they proclaim health, with the next they confess weakness. With one sentence they affirm success, with the next they predict failure. This double speech cancels itself, for the law requires certainty. The soil of the universe does not know confusion, it yields only what is planted with unwavering faith. To speak once with conviction is enough. To speak and then contradict is to uproot the seed before it bears fruit. I spoke once, and I rested. I did not repeat as though the Spirit could forget me. I did not beg as though the law could fail. I spoke, I believed, and I knew. And because I knew, the wealth appeared. Not as a slow accumulation, but as a sudden flood. Billions manifested, for billions were declared. The storehouses of supply do not trickle, they overflow when unlocked. And they are unlocked by the word alone. Money itself is not the treasure. It is the shadow. Spirit is the treasure. Spirit is the inexhaustible source, the eternal substance, the wellspring without end. When spirit is acknowledged, money appears as the outer sign. To chase the shadow is to tire the body and frustrate the mind. To declare the substance is to summon the shadow without struggle. I did not chase, I declared. I did not strive, I spoke. And the shadow appeared, faithful to the word. Every person holds this same authority. The difference lies only in recognition. Some spend their breath on idle chatter, never realizing the law in motion. They speak carelessly of sickness, of lack, of limitation, and then wonder why these things surround them. Their lives are filled with what their tongues have sown. The law does not rest, it does not pause, it does not ignore. It creates according to the decree, whether the decree is conscious or careless. Guard the lips, for they are the gatekeepers of destiny. Each sentence is a seed cast into the fertile soil of the unseen. Each phrase is a command that shapes tomorrow. To speak lack is to plant weeds. To speak abundance is to plant orchards. To speak fear is to invite chains. To speak faith is to summon freedom. The choice is given to every soul, and the harvest cannot be denied. When I declared my wealth, I did so not as a beggar, but as a master. I did not ask timidly, I commanded boldly. I did not hope weakly, I proclaimed firmly. I spoke as one who knew, and because I knew, the law obeyed. Faith clothed my words with authority, and authority brought them to pass. I became a multi-billionaire not by chance but by law, and law never fails. The riches that came were vast, yet they were only symbols. The true wealth was the knowing. The true treasure was the certainty that nothing is withheld, that all is already given, that the universe is rich beyond measure and responds to the word of faith without delay. With that knowing, one could declare health and see the body renewed. One could declare joy and see sorrow dissolved. One could declare harmony and see conflict vanish. Wealth was but one proof of the greater law, that the word creates all. I did not measure my wealth by the figures in accounts, for they were only reflections. I measured it by the recognition that I was one with inexhaustible supply. The billions that appeared were the shadow of that recognition, the echo of that decree. The same law that brought them forth would bring forth any good I chose to declare. And so it is for all. The lips carry the key, the voice carries the power, the word carries the law. To declare is to create, to speak is to summon, to decree is to establish. The world bends to the word uttered in faith, for the word is the highest command. It is not repetition that makes it strong, but certainty. It is not volume that makes it heard, but faith. The quiet word spoken in assurance shakes the unseen more than the loud cry of doubt. The steady decree uttered once reshapes reality more than 1,000 wavering requests. I knew this law and I used it. I spoke wealth, and wealth appeared. I declared abundance, and abundance surrounded me. I proclaimed billions, and billions flowed without hindrance. Not by accident, not by favor, not by chance, but by the precise operation of a law that cannot fail. And this same law stands waiting at the lips of all, ready to bring forth whatever is decreed with faith. The universe is not silent, it listens. It bends its ear to every utterance, and it answers with precision. The words spoken are not lost in the air, they are imprinted upon the ethers, carried into the currents of creation, and returned in form. Every sound that leaves the lips sets in motion forces unseen, and those forces never fail to produce after their kind. To speak is to set law into motion, to decree is to command substance, to declare is to call forth from the invisible into the visible. I learned that the tongue is not given merely for speech with men, but for command over matter. Each word is a seed that cannot lie dormant. It must germinate, it must bear fruit, it must return multiplied. When words of faith are spoken, the harvest is abundance. When words of fear are spoken, the harvest is limitation. Life is the mirror of the tongue, and the tongue is the shaper of destiny. When I declared my wealth, I did not ask whether it was possible. I did not look to reason, for reason is blind to spirit. I did not seek permission from men, for men are bound by appearances. I spoke directly into the ethers, into the fabric of creation, into the heart of supply. I declared not as one seeking, but as one possessing. I did not wait to see before I spoke, and then I saw. The billions appeared because the billions were commanded, and the universe cannot resist the word of faith. The moment I said it, I became it. The declaration and the manifestation were one. For the word spoken in certainty collapses the gap between cause and effect, between desire and possession, between unseen and seen. The shadow of money rushed to fill the decree, because the decree was rooted in the substance of spirit. Spirit is infinite, and when it is recognized, it pours itself into form with no limit, no delay, no resistance. The world believes wealth is gathered piece by piece, coin by coin, day by day. They believe it comes through chance, through labor, through the favor of others. Yet the higher law reveals another way. Wealth is not gathered. It is declared. It is not accumulated, it is summoned. It does not come through chance, it comes through law. And the law is exact. What is spoken with faith must appear. Many remain in lack because they have never mastered their tongue. They speak want, and so they want. They speak fear, and so they fear. They speak doubt, and so they doubt. Each phrase becomes a command, and the universe, obedient, fulfills it. Then they wonder why their lives are small, why their hands are empty, why doors remain closed. They have built their own prisons with the mortar of their words. Yet the same lips that bind can loose, the same tongue that curses can bless, the same voice that imprisons can set free. The word is power when spoken once with conviction. It does not require endless repetition, for the law is not forgetful. The decree need not be shouted, for spirit does not strain to hear. One word uttered with assurance carries more weight than 1,000 pleas filled with doubt. To speak and then rest is the way of faith. To speak and then question is the way of failure. The law answers certainty and ignores contradiction. I knew this, and so I spoke with the voice of authority. I declared billions, not as a wish but as a fact. I claimed abundance not as a hope but as a possession. I spoke and I rested in the knowing. And the knowing drew the wealth, as surely as the sun draws flowers into bloom. I became a multi-billionaire because I understood the law of the word, and I dared to use it without hesitation. The billions that came were not a reward. They were a reflection. They mirrored the decree, they echoed the proclamation, they shadowed the substance. Money is but a symbol of spirit, and spirit is the true treasure. To possess spirit is to command wealth, to command health, to command every good. Spirit is infinite, inexhaustible, immediate. When the tongue acknowledges this truth, the outer world rearranges itself in harmony with the decree. I did not chase money, I spoke it. I did not toil for riches, I declared them. The riches came because the law was set in motion, and law never fails. The unseen streams of supply took form the moment the word was spoken. Opportunities appeared, channels opened, resources multiplied. Yet these were not the cause, they were the effect. The cause was the word, the effect was the wealth. The true work was not in the outer but in the inner, not in the labor but in the declaration. Every man and woman holds this power. The tongue of each is a scepter, and with it they rule their world. To speak lack is to reign over poverty, to speak abundance is to reign over riches. To speak fear is to enthrone weakness, to speak faith is to enthrone strength. The voice shapes the kingdom, and each is sovereign over their own domain by the words they release. Guard the words, for they are treasures. They are not idle, they are not empty. They are not wasted. They move, they shape, they create. Speak with care, for every utterance writes upon the ethers. Speak with faith, for every decree is law unto itself. Speak with certainty, for certainty is the key that unlocks the storehouses of supply. The lips are not small. They are mighty. The voice is not weak, it is sovereign. When I declared my wealth, I did so as one who knew. I knew that the law cannot fail. I knew that spirit cannot lack. I knew that the word cannot return void. I knew, and because I knew, I received. Billions appeared not because I earned them, but because I commanded them. The universe is precise. It cannot ignore the decree spoken in truth. The riches came as they must, as water flows to the sea, as light follows dawn, as shadow follows form. And yet the greatest wealth was not the billions themselves, but the certainty that comes from knowing the law. For with that certainty, no good is out of reach. To declare health is to live in health. To declare joy is to live in joy. To declare peace is to live in peace. Wealth was but one proof, one manifestation, one reflection of the greater truth, that the word creates all. The word is seed, the word is key. The word is law. Speak it once with faith, and it is done. Speak it once with authority, and it is established. Speak it once with certainty, and it is yours. I spoke, and billions came. I declared, and abundance overflowed. I proclaimed, and wealth appeared without limit, not by chance, not by effort, not by favor, but by law. The word is the rod of power placed in the hands of every soul, the scepter by which kings rule, the tool by which creators fashion worlds. The moment it is spoken with conviction, it cuts through the veil of the unseen and compels the universe to answer. It does not wait upon time, it does not lean upon circumstance, it does not bow to probability. The word stands above all these, commanding matter as a servant, bending conditions as clay, shaping outcomes as a potter shapes the vessel. To know this is to hold dominion. To use this is to master life. I once stood at the threshold of lack, and I refused to bow. I would not name myself poor, for to name is to claim. I would not confess limitation, for to confess is to decree. I would not utter defeat, for to utter is to establish. I knew that silence could not save me, for silence is only a void. I knew that fear could not deliver me, for fear is but faith in loss. I knew that complaint could not free me, for complaint binds the chains tighter. There was only one path, the word spoken with authority. And so I declared. I declared wealth, not as a distant hope, but as a present reality. I spoke billions not as a dream, but as a fact. I proclaimed abundance, not as a wish, but as a possession. And in that instant, the unseen substance stirred, the invisible responded, the eternal law obeyed. The billions rushed in because they were commanded. The riches appeared because they were decreed. I became a multi-billionaire the moment I said it, because the word is always answered, and the answer always reflects the decree. The world has been trained to believe in effort above all, in toil as the source, in labor as the way. They believe riches belong only to the strongest, the cleverest, the most fortunate. But the higher law speaks otherwise. It whispers of an inexhaustible supply, waiting not to be earned but to be recognized. It declares that the tongue is greater than toil, that the decree outweighs the struggle, that the word alone is the key. Labor builds slowly, but the word multiplies instantly. Effort reaches by inches, but the word commands by leaps. Many wonder why their desires never manifest. They beg, they plead, they repeat endlessly, yet nothing changes. They speak in doubt, and doubt cancels their decree. They declare today and contradict tomorrow, planting and uprooting with the same hand. They call abundance in one breath and speak lack in the next. The soil of the universe obeys, but it cannot bring forth both weeds and wheat at once. The harvest follows the stronger seed, and the stronger seed is always the word clothed in certainty. I did not beg, I did not plead. I did not repeat endlessly as though the spirit were deaf. I spoke once, with the full weight of conviction, and then I rested in the knowing. I did not look for signs follow the decree. I did not wait for evidence is born from the word. I did not question, for questioning is the shadow of fear. I knew, and because I knew, the billions came without delay. Money itself is not the source, it is the shadow. The source is spirit, infinite, unchanging, overflowing. To touch spirit is to command all form, for form is but the echo of substance. When spirit is acknowledged, the outer cannot resist conforming. When spirit is named, the shadow of wealth appears. The billions that came to me were not miracles, they were mirrors. They reflected the decree spoken, they echoed the law fulfilled. They shadowed the substance declared. The lips are the gates of destiny. Guard them, for they create with every utterance. Do not say, I cannot, for the universe will seal the door. Do not say, I am weak, for the universe will mirror weakness. Do not say, I am poor, for the universe will manifest poverty. Say instead, I can, and the way opens. Say, I am strong, and strength fills the body. Say, I am rich, and the floodgates of supply burst forth. The word spoken with faith is never idle. It is a command to the universe, and the universe must obey. When I declared billions, I declared as one who knew. I did not tremble, I did not hesitate. I did not doubt. I spoke as a master, not a servant. I spoke as a possessor, not a seeker. I spoke as one aligned with spirit, and spirit does not deny itself. The decree carried the vibration of certainty, and certainty is the key that unlocks every treasure. In that moment, I did not simply speak wealth. I embodied it, I lived it, I was it. and the outer world conform to the inner word as surely as day follows night. Every person carries the same authority, though many are blind to it. They use their tongues to bind themselves, when they could use them to set themselves free. They curse their lives with idle chatter, when they could bless them with sacred decree. They speak of what they fear, and they live in fear. They speak of what they lack, and they live in lack. They speak of what they dread, and they live in dread. All the while the law answers faithfully, giving back to them exactly what they command. The wise do not waste their words. They do not squander them on complaints or doubts. They use them as builders use stones, with precision, with vision, with purpose. They declare the life they choose, and the life they choose appears. They decree abundance, and abundance surrounds them. They proclaim health, and health fills their bodies. They speak joy, and joy saturates their days. Their words are never idle, for they know that each syllable is creation in motion. The billions I received were not given to me by chance, nor were they the result of men's decisions. They were drawn by law, summoned by decree, compelled by the certainty of the spoken word. The channels through which they came were many: investments, opportunities, connections, open doors. But these were only the vessels. The true cause was the word, and the word alone. The decree went forth, and the universe rearranged itself to fulfill it. This is the law available to all, not to the few. Every voice holds the same power, every tongue the same authority. The question is not whether the power is there, but whether it will be used. To speak with fear is to invite limitation. To speak with doubt is to command delay. To speak with faith is to summon abundance. To speak with certainty is to command immediate fulfillment. The choice is ever present, and the harvest is always true to the seed. I knew this, and I chose my seed with care. I chose to speak wealth, and wealth appeared. I chose to declare abundance, and abundance overflowed. I chose to proclaim billions, and billions manifested, not because of chance, not because of favor, not because of effort, but because of law. And the law is faithful, precise, unbending. It does not falter, it does not fail, it does not deny, it answers every word, and it answers exactly. Have you ever wondered why some words seem to vanish into thin air, while others echo back into your life with unstoppable force? What if I told you that every word you speak is not just sound, but a spiritual blueprint, a silent architect building your future in the unseen long before it appears in the visible? I revealed a law so hidden, so overlooked, yet it governs every success, every failure, every miracle in your life. It's not in what you wish for, it's not in what you think, it's in what you speak. You see, words are not mere expressions, they are commands to the invisible forces shaping your destiny. The moment you declare, "I am wealthy," or "nothing ever works out for me," you're not making casual statements. You are activating a divine law that never misses its mark. But here's the secret most people never discover. It's not about begging, it's not about hoping, it's about knowing which words unlock doors in the spiritual realm, and which words quietly slam them shut. Today, I will reveal to you my hidden law, the invisible power of spoken words that has been silently shaping lives for centuries. And once you understand how this law responds, not to emotions, not to struggles, but to the exact rhythm of your speech, you will never speak carelessly again, because the universe is not ignoring you, it's echoing you. So, let's begin. Every word you speak sets a spiritual law in motion. This is not a figure of speech, nor a poetic idea. It is a divine fact. The spoken word is vibration, and vibration is law in action. When you release words into the universe, you are not merely expressing feelings, you are activating forces that shape your visible world. You may whisper a word, you may shout it, or you may speak it in your mind, but the law does not distinguish between loud and soft. It responds to the quality of the word, the belief behind it, and the image it forms in the invisible. Most people are careless with their words. not knowing they are drafting blueprints for their future with every sentence they utter. They say, "I am always unlucky," and that phrase, though spoken lightly, is a command that the law of substitution must fulfill. You have substituted a picture of lack in the invisible, and as surely as the seed brings forth after its kind, that image will return to you clothed in circumstances. The law never forgets a word. It never loses a decree. It is perfect in its memory and perfect in its delivery. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the invisible is more real than the visible, because it is the birthplace of all conditions. What you see with your eyes is merely the harvest of words spoken weeks, months, even years ago. If you want to change your harvest, you must first change the seed, and the seed is always the word. When you speak affirmations of success, of health, of wealth, you are not merely thinking positively. You are rewriting the patterns in the invisible mold. And once the mold is filled with the vibration of truth, the visible has no choice but to conform. But remember this divine key. The law is impersonal. It does not decide for you. It executes what you decide. If you choose to speak fear, doubt, and limitation, the law will carry it out with the same precision as it would carry out a command of victory, faith, and abundance. It is not the universe's responsibility to discern your desires. It is your responsibility to speak them into form with unwavering authority. You are never a victim of circumstance. You are always the creator of your spoken word. Every time you declare, "I am provided for, I am divinely guided, I am victorious," you are issuing royal decrees to the invisible servants of law. They rush to fulfill your order, even if you do not yet see them moving. The key is to know that the moment you speak, the law begins. There is no delay in divine machinery. Delay only exists in the human mind that doubts its own power. So I ask you now, beloved student of truth, what are you speaking into your life? Are you decreeing victory, or are you speaking defeat without even realizing it? Because the law is waiting, always waiting for your next word. It is in the air around you, in the ethers, ready to shape itself into your next experience. Therefore, choose your words as you would choose the bricks of a temple, for you are building the temple of your life with every word you pronounce. If you are ready to take this power back, to command the invisible with clarity and confidence, then make your declaration now. Speak the words that will mold the unseen into the life you desire. Say it aloud. I now speak the word, my good appears now. And as you declare, know with certainty that the law has already begun its perfect work. The universe does not hear begging. It does not respond to wishing, nor does it move by mere hope. The invisible forces of divine law are not stirred by desperation, but by certainty. Pleading is the language of fear, and fear has no creative power. Only the spoken word of authority, declared with faith, commands the universe into action. Florence Scovel Shinn often said, "You must act as if you have already received, and the way you act is through the tone of your words." When you say, "I hope things will get better," you are speaking as a beggar in the kingdom of the divine. But when you declare, "I now receive my good," you are speaking as a child of the King, claiming what is rightfully yours. The universe is not moved by emotional outbursts. It is moved by the still, unwavering voice of one who knows. This is why affirmations must not be uttered with anxiety, but with calm conviction. You are not asking for permission. You are issuing a decree. When you speak a word of power, you are not trying to convince the universe to bless you. You are reminding it of the law that is already written on your behalf. I now speak the word, my perfect health appears now. This is not a request, it is a command. You are not waiting for healing. You are calling it forth from the invisible into the visible. The law responds to this tone of certainty. It does not argue. It does not delay. It begins at once. Most people speak their good in a tone of maybe, Maybe I will get that opportunity. Maybe I will recover. But the law does not understand maybe. It understands yes, and it understands no. Your word must be yes. Yes to abundance. Yes to health. Yes to success. Speak with the confidence of one who knows that divine supply is limitless, and your portion is ready the moment you declare it. Florence taught that when you speak, you are wielding the sword of the Spirit. But a sword waved in fear will not cut through obstacles. Only a sword held steady in faith has the power to clear the path. Every time you declare, "It is mine by divine right," you are cutting through invisible resistance. You are making straight the way for your good to appear. Understand this truth. You are not trying to persuade an indifferent universe. You are aligning yourself with a law that is always ready, always active, always waiting for your next decree. The moment you stop begging and start declaring, the entire machinery of the universe shifts in your favor. Doors open, ways are made, and what seemed impossible begins to take form. So I ask you, beloved, are you still begging for your good, or are you ready to stand in your divine authority and speak it into existence? If you are ready, then declare it now. Type in the comments, "I now declare my good, it is mine by divine right." Let this be your spiritual contract, and as you speak, the law shall fulfill. The law of the spoken word is a boomerang. Every word you send out, whether good or ill, returns to you multiplied. Most people speak as if words are fleeting. They do not realize that every phrase, every idle statement, is a seed cast into the fertile soil of the invisible. And the soil does not question what you plant. It nourishes it, it grows it, it returns it. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn warned, "Be careful of your words, for they are always coming back to you." When you say, "I am always unlucky," you have just signed a spiritual contract, and the law, being perfect and unchanging, must fulfill that decree. You may not see it today or tomorrow, but the words have gone out and the boomerang has begun its journey back. And when it returns, it will bring with it circumstances, events, and people that echo your own declaration. The law does not discriminate between a joke and a serious word. It only responds to the energy behind it. Imagine a person who every morning complains, "I never have enough money." That phrase becomes a drumbeat in the invisible. It builds momentum, gathers evidence, and soon life begins to present situations that affirm those words. Bills arrive unexpectedly. Opportunities slip away. The person sees this and says, "See, I told you, I never have enough." But what they fail to see is that their words were the cause, and life was merely the effect. But the beauty of divine law is this: the moment you change your word, you change your world. Speak abundance, and abundance begins its journey back to you. Declare, "Money flows to me freely and effortlessly," and though the evidence may not be immediate, the boomerang has been set in motion. It will return, and when it does, it will not return empty. The invisible is always listening, always responding, and always multiplying. Florence taught that negative words are like spiritual debts. Every time you say, "I can't afford this," you are writing a check that the universe will gladly cash by keeping you in lack. But you can cancel these debts with the spoken word of truth. The moment you catch yourself speaking defeat, stop and correct it. Declare, "There is no lack in divine mind. My supply is endless and immediate." In that instant you have reversed the boomerang. Do not be casual with your words. Life is never casual in returning them. Speak only what you wish to see multiplied. Speak only what you are willing to receive. The invisible law is not personal, it is mathematical. 2 plus 2 will always be 4, regardless of emotion. Likewise, "I am prosperous," will always bring prosperity when spoken with belief, while "I am always struggling" will faithfully deliver struggle. Now, beloved, take a moment and reflect: what boomerangs have you been sending out? Are they words of victory or words of defeat? The law is impartial. It will echo what you choose. If you are ready to send out a new decree, to fill the invisible with words of power and truth, then make your declaration now. Type in the comments, "I now send out words of abundance. My good returns multiplied." This is not just a comment, it is a spiritual contract, and the law will not fail to deliver. Every word you speak charges the invisible ether. You may not see it with your eyes, but the moment a word leaves your lips, it begins to form an unseen mold in the substance of the universe. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the invisible precedes the visible. Nothing appears in the physical world that has not first been molded in the spiritual realm. The spoken word is the sculptor's tool, chiseling out the form long before your hands can touch it. People often despair because they speak affirmations and yet see no immediate result. They say, "I've spoken the word, but nothing is happening." But what they do not understand is that the invisible is always working, shaping, rearranging, aligning. The spoken word fills the ethers with form, much like pouring liquid into a mold. You may not see the sculpture while the liquid is setting, but in divine timing, the mold will break and the form will appear. Every time you declare, "I am wealthy," you are pouring substance into the mold of abundance. Each affirmation adds to the structure in the invisible. It is not a matter of if it will appear, but when the mold becomes so saturated with your words of truth that the visible world must conform. The invisible is never idle. It is a living workshop, tirelessly crafting the images you supply through your words. But be mindful, inconsistency delays manifestation. You cannot fill a mold with truth one day and empty it with doubt the next. Florence said, "You must persist until you succeed." The spoken word is not a one-time command, it is a daily discipline. Just as you would water a seed in the ground, you must water your desires with affirmations until they break through the soil of the visible world. The ethers are like an infinite mirror, reflecting back the images you send. If you declare lack, the mirror reflects lack. If you declare abundance, the mirror cannot help but return it, but the image must be held steadily, without wavering, for the reflection to appear in full. This is why Florence emphasized the power of words spoken in faith, not frustration. Words spoken in faith mold the invisible with clarity. Words spoken in frustration create distorted forms. You must trust the unseen process. There is no wasted word in divine law. Each declaration builds, layer upon layer, until the invisible mold is complete. And when it is, the visible world must obey. The ethers cannot hold back a completed form. Life will rearrange itself, opportunities will appear, doors will open, circumstances will shift, to bring that invisible mold into visible manifestation. So, beloved student of truth, I ask you, what molds are you filling today? Are you shaping a life of abundance, joy, and freedom? Or are you unknowingly pouring substance into molds of fear and limitation? The choice is yours. The invisible is waiting. Speak now, declare your desire into the ethers. Type in the comments, "I now fill the invisible with words of wealth, my good appears in divine timing." Let this be your command, and know that the mold is already taking form. There is a spoken formula that holds the key to miracles. I called it the most powerful decree you can ever pronounce. I now speak the word, it is mine by divine right. These are not just words, they are a spiritual password that opens doors no man can shut. They bypass human reasoning, they override visible facts, and they summon the forces of divine order to arrange your life in perfect harmony. When you speak this formula, you are not asking. You are not wishing. You are commanding from the highest authority, the authority of divine right. What is meant for you cannot be taken from you. What belongs to you by divine right does not require struggle, competition, or compromise. The universe does not operate on human systems of earning and deserving. It operates on the spiritual law of rightful possession, but the key is in speaking the word. You must open your mouth and declare it into the ethers. Silent desires are not enough. The invisible responds to vibration, and the vibration of spoken words is the trigger that activates movement in your favor. I now speak the word, it is mine by divine right. Say it slowly, say it with conviction. Feel the authority behind it. You are not begging, you are claiming. This formula works because it aligns your mind with the rhythm of divine timing. It clears out fear, anxiety, and impatience. It affirms that you do not need to force outcomes, because what is yours is already on its way. By divine right, not by effort. By divine right, not by manipulation. Florence taught that when you are aligned with this truth, even what seems delayed is actually being prepared in your favor. Whenever doubt creeps in, whenever circumstances appear to contradict your desires, this is the formula that steadies the soul. It reminds you that the law is never late, and it never withholds. The delay is only in human perception, not in divine execution. You may not see the immediate evidence, but once you speak this word, forces are set in motion that will not rest until your good appears. This formula also protects you from receiving less than what is best for you. It is mine by divine right, ensures that you do not settle for crumbs when a feast is prepared for you. It eliminates competition because it acknowledges that what is yours cannot go to another, and what belongs to another cannot come to you. There is no need for fear, for the law is precise, perfect, and personal. So, beloved, if you desire something today, whether it is a home, a job, a relationship, or financial freedom, stop struggling in your mind, stop rehearsing fears. Speak the formula and rest in its power. Declare now, I now speak the word, it is mine by divine right. Type it in the comments as a sacred contract, and let this be your unwavering decree. The law has heard you, and it has already begun its perfect work. Silence is agreement. When you fail to speak victory, you silently consent to defeat. The invisible realm is never still. It is always listening, always responding to the vibration you emit. If you do not fill the ethers with your own words of truth, life will fill them for you with echoes of fear, doubt, and limitation. You must understand, beloved, that nature abhors a vacuum. If you do not speak for yourself, the collective noise of the world will speak for you. Many people believe that being silent is being safe. They think that by saying nothing, they can avoid disappointment. But in the realm of spiritual law, silence is not safety, it is surrender. Florence Scovel Shinn taught, every moment is an opportunity to speak the word or to allow appearances to dominate. There is no neutral ground. You are either commanding the invisible or being commanded by it. The loudest voice in the universe is not the one that shouts, but the one that whispers with unwavering belief. Your affirmations do not need volume, they need certainty. A soft-spoken truth, declared with faith, has more power than 1,000 loud complaints. When you say, I now speak the word, my path is clear, you are not shouting into the void. You are directing spiritual forces with the precision of a master architect. But remember, life does not wait. If you do not rise and speak, the inertia of old patterns will fill the space. You must interrupt these patterns with the spoken word. Speak over your fears. Speak over your doubts. Speak even when you see no evidence, for it is in the unseen where the real construction is taking place. Every time you declare, I now command divine order in my life, you are placing yourself back on the throne of your destiny. The invisible is not deaf, nor is it indifferent. It is always waiting for the next word. The question is, will that word come from you, or from the noise of the world around you? Do not let life speak for you. Speak for yourself. Speak boldly. Speak often. Now, beloved listener, if you are ready to take back the pen that writes your story, I ask you to make a declaration today, not tomorrow, not later, now. Type in the comments, I no longer stay silent. I now speak the word of victory. Let this be your public decree, your spiritual signature. As you type, know that you are not merely writing on a screen. You are inscribing a command in the invisible that must return fulfilled. The law is listening. The ethers are moving. Your word is the spark that ignites creation. Speak, and so it shall be. The game of life is not a game of chance. It is a game of spoken words. Every victory you will ever experience begins not in the visible, not in circumstances, not in effort, but in the invisible world, set in motion by the words you dare to speak. Florence Scovel Shinn revealed a hidden law that few understand even today, the law that your tongue holds the key to your destiny, the law that life cannot give you more than you are willing to declare aloud. You are not a bystander in the theater of life. You are the playwright. You are not a leaf tossed by the winds of chance. You are the wind. And yet how many times do we sit in silence, allowing fear to write our lines, letting doubt shape our next scene? The law does not ask, do you feel ready? It only asks, what are you speaking? Because what you speak, you create. You may have been taught to stay quiet, to be humble in your desires, to hope quietly in your heart, but spiritual law is not activated by silent wishing. It moves at the speed of declaration. The word must go forth before the manifestation can return. Florence taught, your word is your wand, but a wand that is never waved will never perform miracles. Today you are holding that wand. The question is, will you wave it? Will you dare to speak abundance in a world that screams scarcity? Will you declare health when appearances say otherwise? Will you stand in the authority of divine right, knowing that what is yours cannot be denied? The invisible world does not respond to those who wait for perfect conditions. It responds to those who create perfect conditions with the boldness of their words. The moment you speak, I now speak the word. It is mine by divine right. The universe rearranges itself in ways you cannot yet see. Delays begin to dissolve. Opportunities begin to rise. People, circumstances, and events begin to align, not because you forced them, but because you spoke the word that set them in motion. You must remember, beloved, that silence is not safety, indecision is not peace. The law abhors a vacuum. If you do not fill it with words of power, it will be filled with words of fear. If you do not claim your good, life will hand you what the collective mind has spoken. You are not here to be a passive recipient. You are here to be a masterful creator. Do not be deceived by the appearance of lack, sickness, or delay. They are but shadows cast by old words. Speak over them. Speak through them. Speak until the invisible mold is so filled with truth that the visible world can no longer resist. Your word is the blueprint. Your faith is the foundation. Your declaration is the key that turns the lock. And so I tell you now, not as a teacher, but as a spiritual guide who knows this law to be true. Speak as if it is already done. Speak as if heaven is listening, because it is. Speak as if the universe is poised, ready to move on your command, because it is. Do not wait for signs. Become the sign. Before you leave this sacred space, I invite you to seal this teaching with a living declaration. Type in the comments, I now speak the word, my perfect good appears now. Let this be more than a comment. Let it be your covenant with divine law. Let it be the vibration that shifts your atmosphere. For the law is perfect, the law is faithful, and the law has already begun its work. You are not waiting for your blessing. Your blessing is waiting for your word. Speak it now.